Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Broken World Chronicles. My name is Guy and I thank you all for joining me as we do the pre-game show. Now, if you haven't watched the Broken World Chronicles before, what this is tabletop role-playing, obviously via stream. And I've got three wonderful players who are going to be joining us, running three very interesting characters. But before we do that, that's scheduled for 6 p.m. So we've got about 26 minutes or so to go before the show starts. And during this period is where I take you through my plans for the episode. So if you are a budding game master, or if you want to run your own games, or even if you're a player and you want to have insight into what goes on in the minds of a game master, this is for you. If you do not, however, if you want to stay innocent and pure and experience the story of the Broken World Chronicles as they unfold, this contains not only spoilers, this contains all the back notes and shorthand little post-it stamps of everything that's gone into my head in terms of creating this adventure. So you will be seeing the very bare bones of it. So why do we do it? What's the purpose? Well, the purpose is that you can then see what my plan is. You can then watch the episodes of the Broken World Chronicles. We've just moved into a new chapter of the story, if you like. The characters have jumped into a new reality. And you can then sort of see, okay, well, that's what he had planned to do. Let's watch the show. You watch how the show plays out. And then at the end of it, I do a half-hour unpacking where I then talk about, well, that's what I planned. You then saw what actually happened. This is how I tried to correct it, change it, fix it, or bring it back onto track. So that's the plan anyway, in terms of how the show is going to unfold. Halfway through the 2-hour show, we might take a break. It depends on how heavy the action is. And if we do take a break, that's then when we will turn to the chat to see what's going on. But during the actual play of the show, we don't interact with the chat. So if you're hoping to be able to make suggestions to the players whilst the game is actually running, I'm afraid you won't be able to do that. They just simply won't be watching the chat flying through. So we do read it, of course. We will try and respond to it afterwards. If you've got questions during this period before the show starts or after the show, please ask them. Just put a nice big question up front so that I can see that you are actually asking a question. The show is available on Twitch as well as on YouTube. Obviously on YouTube it remains afterwards so that you can catch up and watch bits and pieces if you so choose. Now we are also running a Patreon space where if you join the Patreon group, that's patreon.com/Broken Worlds, you can actually submit your own world idea that the players could jump into, as well as your own NPCs. Now, in today's episode, the characters actually did jump into one of the Patreon submitted worlds and will be encountering one of the player submitted NPCs. So that is something to look out for. Okay, I see there is a question that's already come through on Twitch from Grizzles. Thank you for joining us. Nice to see you here. What do you think of a big bad purposely setting themselves up to fail because it stops a different big bad from doing something else? Well, I think that just sounds to me like a sequel campaign, which is fantastic. So if the big bad sets themselves up to fail, to thwart somebody bigger and badder, then basically they're not necessarily a big bad. They're kind of helping the party, which is absolutely fine, especially if after that campaign comes to a conclusion and you've set up that big bad well enough. You can then run the second campaign, which is where the big bad then tries to take over. Now, a very classic example of this, and I'm going right the way back to the 2000s, once we got a more, how can I put it, logical presentation. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe featured Skeletor as this big bad. But Skeletor wasn't the biggest or the baddest. There was someone who was worse than him, and that was in the guise of Hordak. So Skeletor would frequently, well, Skeletor eventually banished Hordak to a different realm and was terrified that Hordak would come back, and he would team up with He-Man to prevent Hordak from returning to Eternia from time to time. So there are examples where that needs to happen and where that can happen and work quite well, I think. So there we are. Okay, now on with the actual show that I have got planned out. If you have watched previously what's been going on, you will have noticed, or you will have seen, that the characters randomly jumped to another world. And that other world that they happened to jump to saw them surrounded by goblins who were talking about the disgusting humans and the awful, awful elves. Of which both our principal PCs are. They then let the golem go, assuming that Flint is actually a golem. So it is a curiosity as to what it is that's going on. And now I'm going to tell you what it is that is going on. Now, this world was created by one of our Patreons. Here it is here. Adventure number 2, episode number 2, The Revolution of Philon. Now, this world was proposed to us, and it was a very interesting world. I really enjoyed it. The idea or the theme of the world is that it's a revolutionary world. It is a world where things are slightly different. And just to give you an example of how the world was submitted so that you can have a look and see, we have a template which I will bring up here. And the template basically asks for the supplier of the world's name, the theme. Theme is very important. It's a revolutionary theme. And we've got the Goblins rebel eccentrically against tyrants, or great for short. Now, this is an awful phrase, I have to say. Goblins rebel eccentrically against tyrants, or goblins rebel eccentrically against tyrants. Eccentrically is a very tricky word. So that sets up something of us, something that we need to work out. Great for short. So it's a pretty normal world geographically, but politically it is in turmoil due to the fact that the elves and the humans have formed a sort of hostile agreement. The Nazis and the Soviets, and they hate each other, but they are working together to conquer the world. They've been very successful and have conquered the other former nations, enslaving most of the other races. Only a collection of goblin tribes is putting up any organized resistance now. Humans and soldiers mostly are the types of encounters that we're going to have. And then we've got the villains who may be of interest. There's a human leader who wants the resistance crushed. There's an elvish leader who wants resistance crushed, but wants to know more about this shifter power, which is pretty cool. And key points of interest: the goblin rebel base, slave mines, and work camps. So I have taken this suggestion from Pikmin Biomaster, who submitted this world. I have taken this world and I have added it to the campaign in the form of, I'm just going to put this back here so that I can see where it is, in the form of this mission. So this is an adventure outline as done obviously on World Anvil using the adventure outline section under plot template, and the objective here is for the characters to meet an elvish version of Phaloria and learn of Philon. Philon being the world that they have now stepped into. The theme is revolutionary. The type, this is a thwarting mission. And it's going to be quite a complicated thwarting mission as well. Not a very simple one, because there's a lot that they need to come away with. It is part of the master plot. There are only master plots. We're only doing 12 episodes, so master plot it is. The main adversary type here is villain. We're not facing against the nemesis. This is a never-present nemesis that we're dealing with in terms of the greater campaign. If you don't know those terms that I'm talking about, never-present, there are several videos that you can go and have a look at on the YouTube channel. But in short, never-present villain is a villain who is, well, never present. You don't get to meet or see them until towards the middle or the end will the players actually start to become aware of this never present villain. We're going to hint at the never present villain in this episode because it is important for us to start doing that. But yes, so what do we expect? It is a rebellion, so we expect rebels in a difficult situation, evil overlords, troubles, missions around thwarting those overlords, critical resources that will bring them to their knees. By critical resources, generally speaking, when you have rebels fighting against a massive tyrant, there is usually one key thing that seems to be absolutely critical for the success of the rebellion against the evil empire or whomever it might be. So one of the things that we need to bear in mind is that there needs to be this critical resource. That helped me when I was coming up with the adventure itself. What must the players learn? They must learn that the hive mind is seeking something. So there is this character that was submitted, also by Pikmin Biomaster, who happens to fit quite nicely into the whole thing. And that character is very specifically, I will bring up the character sheet for you. Here we go. This is the character sheet. The character's name is Berg Montgomery, and Berg Montgomery is for the party, so he's going to help the party. And Mutton Chops with a moustache, so look out for his token that you'll see later on in the show that I made. He's a bit on the heavier side, plain clothes, and he's a scientist basically with a butcher type thing, pear-shaped body. He's an entomologist, so he studies bugs, and in particular the clack-clack door. So it's going to be interesting. And once they have met him, they're going to realize that he's got some knowledge. He's a bit absent-minded. He rambles when he gets excited. He studies the clack-clack door, and he is going to tell the party, or reveal to the party anyway, that there is this hive mind, and that the hive mind is looking for something. He doesn't know what, but it's going to hopefully hint and throw forward to our players that there is this entity that can and that does permeate across all of the different dimensions, across all of the broken dimensions. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how they react to that. That's the bigger picture. That's what the players must learn at the end of the adventure. The actual adventure itself, I've got Act 1, 2, and 3 set up. I'm hoping that this is going to take roughly 3 episodes to get through, 3 sessions, so 6 hours worth of play. If you look at it, the introduction, our stock standard intro goal, we've got to introduce the players to the Goblin Rebellion, the Great Rebellion. We've got to introduce Berg Montgomery as well. We need to bring him in to the picture. We then need to introduce the 2 armies, the evil Stalinist elves and the Nazi humans. The Stalinist elves I have named the Savist Empire, and the Nazi humans I have named the Nazar Empire. And we're going to get introduced to the idea of what these goblins are trying to achieve. Now, why would the party help the goblins once they discover the goblins' plight? There's no real reason for them. They don't have to stick around in this world. Well, we don't really know what the party plans on doing, really. We're not entirely sure. Are they just going to keep running away from worlds that are being invaded by the clack-clack door? Well, here is a world where the clack-clack door have had very little interference, very little presence, and there has to be some questions asked around that. So there I've worked out the situation. It's probably quite small behind me, but the idea is that there is this Furus, the leader of the Nazar Empire, and the Furus is going to they're going to try and assassinate the Furus. The reason why the party hopefully will help the goblins is because Berg Montgomery needs to be abducted by the evil Nazar Empire, and because he was hinting that he knows things about the clack-clack door, hopefully there will be an investment from the player's character side to go and try and rescue him, and in doing so help the goblins. So I need to make those goblins as absolutely sympathetic as I can. I really need to make them resonate with the players' characters so that the players' characters will say, yes, we will help you, yes, we will join with you, and try and figure that one. Once they get there, the plan is that they're going to go and blow up this Arcanon. The Arcanon is a train that I invented for this particular episode that runs on arcane magic. So it's not a steam engine, it's this arcane train that jumps between these gates. So it floats between the gates, these magical gates that are spread about 5 miles apart across the empire. Very lavish show of wealth and power, but also if you destroy one gate, nothing happens. The Arcanon continues. If you destroy 2 gates, however, it falls like a stone. So the plan is that they're going to blow up 2 gates over the canyon known as Dasterfa, the Canyon of Dasterfa. So that will cause the Arcanon to plunge into the canyon and kill the Furus, which will behead the head of the Nazar Empire, and it will tear itself apart and drag the Savist Empire with it. That's the great plan of the Goblin Rebels. In a nutshell, So we then go into Act 2, of course, which is where they get to the first tower. The explosives are placed. They've got a little team of goblins with them. Again, this is what one expects. When you have something like this where there's a sabotage of a single primary thing, we must blow up the Death Star. If we destroy the dam, we'll save the war. All those kinds of things. There's always a little team that's been assembled. That team is usually comprised of an odd bod, a silent type, charismatic type, and then the competent type. So I'll show you those. I'll introduce you to those little goblins a little bit later on. But usually then there's a journey to get to the point. They get to the first point. They easily take it. There isn't too much resistance. So that's the first tower that they will blow out, the first gate. Once they have done that, however, then they realize that there's more to it. And this is a very standard narrative style where they realize that the canyon is actually full of Nazar troops. Why is it full of Nazar troops? Because they're constructing a dam. Now, when you are designing adventures, when you are plotting out your adventures, there is a reason why we use the setup and the first attempt within Act 2. It helps us to realize that, yes, they can't just cross the canyon, get to the next gate, and then blow the gate up. That's a very straightforward adventure that's very simplistic, and it doesn't throw in a huge amount of intellectual challenge, if you like, for the players. It's just gate, guard tower number 1, combat, 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 success. Guard tower number 2, combat, 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 success. The stakes aren't raised. So by adding in the canyon, I said, okay, well, there's a canyon. What can you do with a canyon? What do we do as humans with canyons? We fill them up with water and we build giant dams. That's what we do with canyons, pretty much. That's the only thing that we do with canyons. A long time ago, we used to live in them. Now we just fill them up with water. So why not do the same thing? Why not have the Nazar busy building this dam, which will fill up and give water to nearby farms, or however we want to play it. It doesn't really matter why the dam is being built. It's just that they are building it. What that means is that either the characters are going to have to go on a 30-mile hike and miss the window, obviously, of the cannon arriving, which we definitely do not want. We don't want them to miss that. Or they're going to have to go through the camp, unless any of them can fly. And as far as I know, I don't think that any of the characters can actually fly. So the idea is that they're going to be having to sneak through the camp, perhaps. They're going to have to figure out a way of getting through the camp for that. And the camp itself is basically just like a giant, I don't want to say a dungeon crawl, but it's more like a giant trap. The guards walking past, if they pass their stealth checks, they'll be able to sneak around them. They might have to convince a group of guards that they are that Flint is a golem escorting prisoners, or however, or that they are escorting Flint, since they are both of the right species. They both belong. That if they can pretend to be part of the Nazar Empire, the Savist Empire, then that's fine. So it's basically just a giant trap. It's a little bit of tension, and that's where we're going to meet Overcommandant Vartrebis, who is a personification to a degree of Warren's character, but it's not Warren himself, it's his father, or at least someone who could potentially be his father in the future or in the past. Oh, it's all confused. Then we go into Act 3, which is the final showdown. This is a 1-2-1 method adventure, basically. In terms of, it's not a long adventure. The final showdown is, of course, they get to the heavily guarded tower just in the right nick of time as the Arcanon arrives. And then there can be a giant, they can attack the tower and blow up the tower. What I have put here, but it really does depend on how close we are in terms of time, how exciting the adventure has been so far, is that Berg Montgomery could be on board the Arcanon. And so we'll have to think about that and see which way it works. List of names: Overcommandant Vartrebis, Velstoy Feloriat, Lieutenant Hansa Gorton, Tavgeny Bardowski. So I wrote down a few names. Then the goblins, it's Paro Wandigo, explosives expert, Paro Erico, which is the spellbreaker, Paro Bastes, which is the Sherpa, basically the carry-all, the strength, the muscle. Sargi Floppo, who is the illusionist, so they're going to use illusions to try and sneak in and sneak around, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. And then Karpo Kevzes. Karpo Kevzes is the leader. And and then I just threw in another name, Drollo. So, will there be a Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes? Right. Well, Hogan's Heroes, yeah, a Dirty Dozen is another sort of one of these ideas that comes to mind in terms of how this works. So anyway, that is the plan. That is hopefully what's going to be happening in terms of the whole show, in terms of getting it all to work, and getting the adventure to work, I should say. I didn't see any questions coming through apart from the identity of Laura Bones, who is regular on the chats and in Discord, and is one of the game developers of the game of many players, which we still have to run a second one of. I am excited about that. But anyway, so if there are any questions about this session, if there's any concerns that you might have, if there's something that you think there's an opportunity that I have missed, let me know now. We've got 6 minutes before we get into the main body of the show. And yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This is definitely going to be a bit of an episode where we see a little bit more of Feloria shine, because of the position that she or her character holds, I should say, or doesn't hold necessarily in the show. We'll have to see. But in terms of her character is... I've just realised that I need to mute them. Stay muted. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Alright, I'm just going to mute myself because you're hearing all my plans. I see my players are sitting in Zoom and I forgot to mute my microphone. So hopefully they haven't heard too much. But they're all very good players. So anyway, there we are. Right, make a vid going over the name of many players we did last. Yeah, so there is a video, Grizzlies, that I have bits and pieces of. I'm not sure how to make it into a video though, because most of it was text or crazy screaming and shouting. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. I'm just making sure that all my players are online. One does have to make sure of those sort of things. Yes, it does look like everybody's there. So that's good, and yes, no other questions coming through, so that's absolutely fine. I am hopeful that this doesn't turn into a disaster. The one thing that might happen, the one thing that might happen, and I don't think that it will, to be perfectly honest with you, is if there is a... Sorry, I'm being distracted. I've got a layer in the wrong place. How dare you be in the wrong place? One of the things that might happen is if they jump out of the world that they've jumped into, that means all these plans go out the window. I still need to, however, get them into Berg Montgomery's headspace so that they can learn the secret about the hive. So that's why it's so important, I feel, to have these plans. Let me just bring it up again because I keep losing it. That's why it's so important, I think, anyway, to have these plans where you have this very important paragraph. What must the players learn? Their hive mind that seems to be seeking something beyond just them. It doesn't really matter then where they go. If they go somewhere else, all of these plans, sure, we'll throw them out the window. I don't have a problem with that. We can make stuff up on the fly if necessary. It is something that is within the realm of possibility. We can but see. There have been some interesting usages of the stones thus far. They have traveled back in time a couple of times, which I think is interesting. Again, I don't have a problem with them doing that. It just sort of shows you the power of the stones and how they can use those stones for good or evil, as the case might be. I hope it isn't, but it could very well be. Let me move this over here so that I have access to it. Yeah. All right, we're gonna get ready for the show. Just before the show starts, I'm gonna cut to black, so don't worry about your don't panic if we suddenly go to a black screen for just a brief moment. It's just that I can find it when I'm doing the editing. Now, again, if you want to support these wonderful actors, we do want to try and pay them for their time. But also, if you want to contribute to the Broken World Chronicles, you can join the Patreon. That's on patreon.com/Broken Worlds, where you can then submit your concept for a broken world, as well as NPCs that the characters will encounter. And the NPC and the world that we are in today is one of those submissions by one of our Patreon supporters there, so we do appreciate that. There is some questions that have come through in terms of the stones. They need more stones. Yes, more stones are needed. It takes them six rough stones to create a portal. If you haven't watched the show before, they throw down these 6 little black obsidian stones and it creates a portal. It takes 1d6 rounds to initialize, and then the stones take 1d6 rounds to vaporize. Once they're vaporized, they've been used up, the portal closes. So the characters do have a sense of pressure to get into that portal before it closes down, as well as the portal might take 6 rounds to open. 6 rounds is a very long time if you have a giant killer spider trying to eat you, for example. So there are some pressures that the characters face, aside from, you know, just generally trying to survive. Anyway, I don't see any more questions coming through, and I don't see any reason why we should not kick the show off. So here we go. I will see you all during the break or at the end of the show. Enjoy the show. Hello everybody, and welcome to the Broken World Chronicles. We have a full team here. I see Michael's got some weirdness going on with his picture. Let me see if I can use some magic to get rid of that.
Because he's in the forest.
It is. Michael is joining us from the middle of the outback of Australia, courtesy of well, I'm not entirely sure who's at the courtesy of. He just hasn't been eaten yet by a dingo or a kangaroo, so...
Came close. There was definitely some killer whales, some sea lions, and definitely a very angry-looking kangaroo. But
now, just to point out, those killer whales were not actually in the outback of Australia. They were in the ocean, I assume, because otherwise they'd be a little bit infectious.
They were. I mean,
it'd be a sort of a flopping...
technically, it's all outback. You know, it's literally just around the corner. So.
They were in the steakhouse?
Well, I had steak yesterday.
Actually, killer whales are quite terrifying.
We do when we go on holidays. We go to like an American steakhouse and go, oh, this is how they eat steak. Ugh. Fair enough.
No, terrible.
That's right. I went there.
Your weather is so hot, and we're in the middle of a polar vortex and freezing rain.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And Japan is kind of just nice, so I can't complain. Anyway, without further ado, let's carry on with our Broken World Chronicles. Last week, if you recall, the 3 of you were completely surrounded by goblins. Warren had just started to nod off to sleep when these goblins launched out of the foliage, demanding the surrender of the disgusting human and the even worse elf. And there was some mention that the golem might go free. Goblins have all got little short bows drawn. One of them has a rather nasty looking flail, and the one that has ordered you all to stop steps forward.
Warren,
throw down your weapons or we'll be forced to kill you.
How many are there?
Approximately 12 little goblins have surrounded me. Yeah.
Warren, he was in my lap at the time, so I'm like poking him, like, come on, buddy, get up.
Do I wake up? Or?
Yeah.
You just sleep through it.
You were in that I'm about to fall asleep phase. That's such a wonderful, warm space, and then it suddenly gets pulled away.
Okay. So the moment like my eyes kind of like flash open, like freak out, almost like you see like yellow pupils instead of the normal green, and just this strange, almost like reptilian look, just like, oh god, I could see everything.
That's
I
their
don't know what
reaction.
you're doing.
You said you could see everything!
Oh, this is
Don't look at me!
Oh, my eyes.
Oh, God!
Flint sort of watches them start freaking out, and stands in front between at least the big leader and the two of them, and I say, one is willing to serve. I will relinquish the weapons, and I sort of look at them with my hands outstretched. Get a move on, unless you want to get riddled with all these arrows and spears and whatnot.
I'll drop my weapons.
All right.
Panic
I'll-
Paladin.
For God's sake, I'll reach down and I'll grab Law's bow, and I look to Warren and I say, "Give us your hammer, boy. Come on, hurry up."
Oh, okay.
I'll take it and I'll sort of stand at a very rough version of attention. It looks like he is sort of standing as a golem would, but he does have like this heavy slouch over him, so it's kind of like, a very lazy golem.
The goblin kind of watches, looks, goes, yeah, all right. I guess. You Golem, you follow us, yeah?
One will comply.
Yeah, he kind of goes. No, he rolled a natural one. He kind of goes, oh, perfect, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, okay, all right, human, come on, and elf, you don't try any of your magic mind affecting tricks on us. Thank you very much. We're all wearing underpants of protection, so your spells have no power here.
Underpants of protection?
Oh, don't play like you don't know.
Oh no, not underpants of destruction. How could you? All my plans.
Yeah, you see, lads. You see, this is how they do it. They try and infiltrate, but we are prepared. All right, get a move on, you lot.
They're wearing.
Oh, Florian's gonna have so much fun.
They're wearing magic stuff.
Yes, I like wink at you, like, yeah, oh, it's just like it's not gonna work at all with these guys.
No, I really do need to know because my detect magic is constantly going on.
All right.
as I have weird new eyes now, so I'm just like seeing bright things kind of flaring up my vision.
There is not a drop of magical item in the nearest 60 feet of you.
Okay, just our own stuff.
Yeah. Not
Okay.
a smackerel of magic.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
They, you start following them as they sort of herd you. Once they get closer to you, they put the bows over their shoulders and they pull out these rather well-made, looks like short swords. And like I said, there's one with the flail. He just sort of keeps smacking the two spherical balls of the flail into his hand as he watches you lot. There's a sort of a murderous intent. You can see most of them have got bandages around arms, legs, some chest wounds. Several of them are missing ears. There's sort of head bandages around the foreheads and the like. But you are going with them?
I'm going to start following them, but I'm going to ask the leader, like, what happened to you lot? Looked like you got into a battle.
He looks at you. Not gonna work.
Oh, come on. You can talk to me. I'm harmless. My spells would never work on you, so you know it's of your own volition.
Nope. Not a word. He says as he
So then I'm going to... Oh, I clicked the wrong button. I'm going to use my last second level spell. I'm going to cast Suggestion. And no, I have 2 second level spells. I didn't know I had them. Oh, I'm going to cast Suggestion, and I'm going to suggest to him, tell me.
You are actually casting suggestion on him.
Oh yeah, I want to know what happened. I want to know if there's something bigger or badder out there or potential allies.
And it's a wisdom saving throw, correct?
Yes.
Natural 20.
No! He is wearing underpants and just...
He is wearing underpants protection.
I can't see the underpants.
Excuse
God
me.
damn it!
So yeah, apparently that's the case. Is he's definitely wearing underpants for protection.
So angry.
You
He's like, no, he's not.
You are led towards a very large mountainous structure. Mountain is not the right word. It's a giant cliff face that's been exposed by landslides and collapsed rock and the like, surrounded by forest, this pervasive oaken forest that sort of stretches out in all directions. And as they're getting close, the leader calls for a stop. He turns back to the two of you, Feloria and Warren, and he holds out these rather tangled rags. He used to put those over your eyes.
How will I walk?
Slowly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is there
right.
any way of putting like the bandage like slightly above my irises and below so it looks like it's closed but it's not really?
Give me a deception
Like-
check.
Yes. Dear God, let this work.
I start tying it, trying to like do it above this way. It's like it's not working.
You do it over your helmet so you don't actually know.
so it's like it's very awkward. So it's like
Oh my god. These are the people that are running the world now. All right, but bend down here, and we'll show you how to bloody well do it. You expect people to be able to do this. I mean, you execute
People
people
who
this
run
way
the
all
world.
the time. Bend down, he says to you, Warren, because you are
Do I
still
rule the
taller.
okay.
They then wrap the bandages around your eyes completely, sort of tie it off.
So can I still see?
Yes, you can, but unfortunately, you've got this giant rift. So when the captain gives you a look, where is his value?
Oh, sorry, Flint.
Yeah, yeah. When the captain gives you a look, he says, "No, you're fine." Then he looks over at you, Flint. Who is your rightful owner and master, Gollum?
So far, no master currently under service. Seeking new master.
He looks between you and the rest of his companions.
Oh,
All right. Well, we'll take you to Berg, and maybe he'll.
These two are not masters.
Wait, what are you saying?
Flint, you cut out.
These two ain't masters.
Ah. Tell me,
What?
Gollum. Have you ever heard of the movement called Great?
I've heard that it is a great movement.
They look between each other, kind of nodding.
Don't laugh at me.
Yeah, look at the scorn. Look at the scorn that these superiors offer. You're all right, Gollum. You can come with us. Just don't remember the pathway, all right?
All right.
We can do that, right? I mean, that's what Golems do. Is they do what you tell them, right? So if we tell him not to remember, then he won't remember. I mean, it's foolproof, yeah? Yeah. There's general
We do
consensus.
absolutely
you
everything.
figured it
told
out?
to us and no
No!
need to dig further into it.
Yeah, you be quiet, Elf. They,
I'm sure you guys start singing as loud as I can. Da, 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 as I'm walking blindly. I'm
no,
gonna, like,
she's
bump
trying to
into
give
stuff
us
pretending.
away, says one of them. The other one shouts, oh, shit. All right,
Goes away.
quickly. Sargi Floppo, would you kindly sort her out? There is an attack from behind you, floor.
Who, me? Oh,
Yeah.
great. Nice. Bring it. I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm so ready.
So ready for this?
40 points of damage.
14 is a miss. There's a swipe at the back of your head as Sargi Floppo tries to knock you with his mace, with his flails, but completely misses. Oh my god. You can't hit the broadside.
I'm really tall, so it's not like he's gonna get my head easy.
Well, that's probably why he missed, actually. Listen, Elf, if you don't shut up right now, we're going to knock your block off, all right?
All right, you're the ones in charge.
Yeah, just remember that. We're the ones in charge. Yeah, I've got to remember that myself. All right, someone hold that boy's hand. These bloody humans can't see a thing. Well,
Just want to reach out for a hand.
I know that can't see a thing.
I'll hold your hand.
That's the point.
Okay.
And then one little goblin, he looks like he's slimy. He looks like he has a continual nose drip. Floor, he reaches up for your hand to grab your hand to guide you into the caves. Do you take it?
No, because I can't see it, so I wouldn't know to take it.
He then grabs your hand quite forcibly. There is a moment where you realize that as he grabs your hand, something fluidic squeezes between the palm of his hand and your wrist. And you can't see it, but, well, you can see it, which made it even worse, is he kind of gives you a bit of a grin as he realizes what's happening, and then they start taking you into the mine system. Now, the mine system is fairly complicated, so I'm going to show you what you
Before
see.
we go into the actual system, though, can I do something?
Yes, of course.
I want to do minor illusion, which is a cantrip, where I can create a sound or a volume off in a distance. So I am going to make the sound about 30 feet or however long a distance away, I guess, however far I can, within 30 feet, of like screams.
Screams.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he said that he's trying to keep me quiet, so I'm assuming there might be something like potential allies nearby. So I'm hoping maybe it'll alert them to our location.
You're making these screaming sounds. And what are the screaming sounds of?
So it's just probably gonna be like some lady who's not me, because it's not coming from me. It's coming from over there, just screaming.
Okay, do they get a saving throw against that?
I don't know if they do.
I think they do.
Isn't there like a investigation check or something?
Could be.
I don't know.
So I can create a sound or image within a range that lasts for a duration. The illusion also ends if you dismiss it.
Sure.
So if you create a sound, its volume can range from a whisper to a scream. It can be your voice, someone else's voice, a lion's roar, or anything I choose.
Right.
So I probably pick my friend, Olivia, who I was on the ship with. And it'll probably be like, I've heard her screaming and yelling when she's drunk. So it'll probably be her 30 feet away.
All right. You create this screaming. Immediately, the goblins go into panic mode, and the leader shouts, "Quick, everybody inside! They're bloody... She has alerted them! I blasted, all right. Come on, get in! And he places his hand...
I'm like trying to pretend I'm blind and walking the wrong way.
Well, there's that little clammy hand frantically holding on to you.
As they're moving into the cave, what Flint would like to do is every now and then I'll sort of rub up against one of the cavern walls and just leave kind of like a scuff mark.
Right.
Just to kind of like leave kind of like a breadcrumb trail, basically.
Okay. All right. Easy enough. So Floria, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to break through?
I'm just trying to wander away with Warren and see if they leave us to go for safety or if they're going to drag us with them.
No. Well, you're surrounded by the goblins, so now they're trying to herd you all into towards this cliff
then I'll follow along, but I'm hoping I alerted whoever's nearby.
Well, we shall see, as everyone heard this frantic, drunken screaming. As you get close to the cliff face, the leader goes to... It just looks like a collection of rocks. and picks up the one rock and bashes it twice on the stones. As the second bash happens, the entire stone face seems to rumble aside, revealing a rather dark cave within it. Everyone is then herded through as they frantically watch for anyone else who may have heard, may be coming. They seem satisfied. They then close the door from the other side. You realize that it's a very simple mechanism on the other side. It looks like wood with bits of canvas. It's been painted to look like stone, but it's been done really fairly well. I'm going to share this map with you now. I think you have all got it, and I'm going to bring it up here just for viewers as well. So there is the darkened cave system that you can see now. Viewers, bear in mind that you can see this grey area. Players can't. It's not revealed to them. It's a large cavernous space. There's some dead ferns and things growing around. There's some bones that you can see littering the floor. But other than that, relatively devoid of goblin life, except for the cluster of goblins around you. They take you across the swing bridge, which is very rickety, sways from side to side, and the drop down, well, it just disappears into darkness. So it's a little bit unnerving. It's not a very big gap. You could probably jump it at a push, but if you failed, you would be in for quite a long jump. As you continue deeper into the cave, Flint, every now and again, you are brushing up against the cave system to leave those scuff marks and things. You realize that there is a lever of some kind. There is it just looks like a large winch, and there's some ropes that connect to the bridge itself. If you were to pull this, you reckon the bridge would probably give way, creating that very small gap. There is also the pleasant sound and smell of fresh interior cave water as this crystal clear pool reveals itself to you, or at least what you can see. Flint, you have dark vision, is that correct? And Feloria, I think you do as well.
I have dark vision.
Yeah. Warren, I don't think you do.
I do now. Like I can see normally within 120 feet of normal and magical darkness.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to reveal this to you then.
But the thing is, like, I'm still blinded.
Yes, you've still got that thing over it, so you can't really see what's going on. But you're hearing. That's why I'm trying to. Yeah, so they lead you into this space as well. Again, it just seems to be an unoccupied cave. If you had come in here normally, you probably would have just dismissed it as being an abandoned cave with a rather elaborate cover. However, inset into the wall, there is signs of an old mining shaft which leads through to a very heavy stone door, which as they get to it, they have this momentary pause where the goblin leader then cups his hands over his mouth and makes this very complex bird call, which I can't sadly do in real life, but he makes this fairly complicated bird call. Anybody can give me a performance check to try and remember it if you so choose.
Yes.
You got it.
Yeah, caca.
Also, Guy, just while I remember, I do not actually have dark vision.
Oh, you don't have dark vision. All right, so you're
I do.
seeing very dim light at the moment. Feloria,
I rolled a 23 to remember.
Wow, apparently it's a tune that Warren has heard before. Flint is tone deaf anyway.
Yep, that's
yeah.
it. I can play it on the harmonica. That's basically it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
I talk to animals often.
He plays that sound. He makes that sound, and then you hear this very heavy footfall of something that's quite large and obviously quite heavy because there's a dragging sound that comes with it. And then there's this low, heavy breathing sort of getting softer as it disappears. The goblins sort of wait for a while. They sort of pick their fingernails, pick their noses.
That's a big bird.
Ah, that's not a bird, mate. Yeah, no, we just got to wait a few seconds. And
Okay. Are we in trouble?
Yeah, well, we're probably going to execute you, but, you know, I don't know. Not so much trouble.
don't want to die. What
Yeah,
did
well,
I do?
What about all the goblin children that didn't want to die? Yeah? What about those? Yeah, none of those got shown mercy, I they? No, you didn't.
I
You
never
just
hurt
killed them all.
children.
Right.
I've never
Actually, we
heard a
just
single
saved a
child in my
bunch of
life.
children too.
Tell that to the captain.
I will.
They continue to lead you down. You can see that the cave branches off to your right, but that's not where they're going. They're going to the left, where there are these two very narrow, rickety planks that have been placed again over a much deeper pit. You cannot see the bottom thereof, but every now and again bits of gravel drop down, and it takes a few seconds before you hear the obligatory stone bounce. It does not sound like there is water down there. They lead you across these planks. It would have been so much easier if you were all blindfolded. They lead you across these planks and down a corridor, and as they do so, the whole world starts to get brighter as suddenly a torch reveals itself, flickering in the gloom, providing a modicum of dirty yellow light as you journey past it. Now there is again a walkway off to your left which you don't get the opportunity to explore, and you are once again plunged into darkness. As you get to this large heavy stone door, you watch as they push the heavy metal door open, and the sound of a waterfall immediately assails your senses, and the air instantaneously gets quite heavy with moisture and quite laden down with moisture as well. I see I've left those over there. Yeah, if you're doing anything, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on this tour of the facility. Once stepped... Sorry, yeah, go for it, Michael.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the light from before, that dirty yellow light, was that coming from that corridor to the left that we're not going down, or was it coming from the way we're going?
It was mounted to the wall.
Okay.
So there was a torch there. It looked as if it was basically at the fork. The torch was sitting in the middle of the fork, so you could sort of see roughly where you were going. But that was the first sign that you were actually not in an abandoned space.
Right. Was there anything we could hear coming from that other side of the fork?
No.
At all?
Absolute
No.
silence. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yep. That's it.
The space you're led into opens out and has this wonderful green glow to it as you realize that there is obviously an underwater river, an under mountain river that flows as you are brought in. There's barricades that have been put up in case anyone arrives by the river, by river entrance. There's more torches now as you continue your way across. And you can see that this is a natural pier of some sort. That does continue further on. There are torches further on, revealing that there is more potentially beyond what you have seen. And the sound of the waterfall continues down as well. But you cannot see it from here because they take you through a wooden arch, down another fairly unlit corridor, and then into a large chamber. And as you enter into this large chamber, again, there's torchlight, but there is this large flag, a very homemade flag, which just has the words written on it, Great. And then there was another E at the end, but it's been scratched out. There was some decision on how to spell great. That took place. Nonetheless, there's this large banner hanging there. At the top of the banner, there is definitely a human skull that has been jammed onto the metal spike that the banner hangs from, and at its base are two elvish skulls, without doubt elvish skulls, that have been stacked up at the base of the banner. The chamber itself is quite large, quite well lit. You can see that there is a tunnel off to your north. You're not sure where that goes. You don't get an opportunity really to see it. There's a smoky fire in here as well, causing the entire space to feel quite claustrophobic, quite dirty. Yes, Warren.
Can I take this off now?
No, not yet. Not yet. Wait. They push open a metal grated door. Nearly there. What do I care? bloody well shut up, human. They push you, the two of you, anyway, into this smaller chamber, which you can see as a prison cell. There's a little pool of natural water that is visible, and then there's some ancient old manacles that have been attached to the wall. But aside from that, there's some ferns growing against the walls. Quite a small space. This is obviously something that they've designated as their prison. And then the one goblin takes up residence next to the door, sitting down. Flint, you're kind of left standing and just outside. There is a rather ominous pit in the middle of this room that looks to have the same depth as the rest of those pits that you crossed. It could possibly be an executioner's pit by the looks of things, the way that it's been kept and it hasn't been boarded over. Aside from that, you can see that there's some bedrolls, so there's obviously other goblins that sleep here at night or whenever. There's a little desk with sort of leather armor being repaired, more of those great banners lying around, and then, like I said, there is another chamber leading off to the north. The goblins all look at you. All right, well, Gollum, you stay here, I guess. We're going to go and fetch the boss. As for you two, you can take your blindfolds off now.
Oh, finally.
He slams...
Oh, yes, finally.
He slams shut the iron bars and quite gleefully turns the key in the lock, which he then hands to the goblin standing next to the grate. And says, yeah, well, when the boss gets here, he'll pass judgment and we'll probably throw you in the pit. Just what you bloody well deserve, you bastards. And
We didn't do anything.
then the goblins all leave, except for the one who's been left to guard the space, if you like. Flint, you are left standing there. The goblin kind of looks up at you. He's quite a well-built goblin. He's the one with the flail. Kind of gives you a nod, and then
Flint nods back at this this particular goblin, and he says in as monotone a voice as he can muster, which isn't much. This one notices that your flail looks as though it could be in use of some maintenance. Perhaps you would like to go and tend to your gear. This one can observe the prisoners.
he looks at his two little metal balls on the end of the chain, and he sort of tugs on them and...
It is also my understanding that people of the organic persuasion enjoy consuming food. Perhaps you would like to engage in one of these activities.
The boss told me to stay here. I can fix my flail.
Flynn at this point sort of leans in, like his sort of demeanor almost changes from like, the soldier to like, almost like, whispering into his ear. And I'm sure your boss is going to be really impressed when he sees that you've managed to tame a big, strong golem to do your bidding. Ain't that right?
Well, I don't know about that. We're not really into enslaving people.
Oh, we ain't enslaving or nothing like that. I mean, it's purely you getting enough food in your belly so that you have the energy to perform your duties to the best of your goblin capabilities.
I appreciate the sentiment, I really do, but I can't leave my post. However, I do think Flaylee's got a little bit of a problem. I see there's a chink here that's not holding up particularly well. There's a workbench over there. You reckon you might give it a look?
Of course. This one is happy to comply.
He hands you over his flail.
I sort of look over at Philoria and Warren.
Hi, Flint.
Sort of struggles to stop from growling. He goes, all right, well, this one will be back momentarily. And I'm sort of looking at it. It's like, I've got your weapons. Sort of keep your head down, but I'll keep these safe.
I'm gonna take a nap because I need it.
Laura just sort of stretches out.
Just like, yeah, okay.
Why is Flynn out there? Why are we in here?
I'm guessing they're in the middle of a war with some other race of some kind, probably elves, because they're disdain.
Well, I'm certain if we talk to them, you know, they're gonna know that we're good people and they'll let us go.
Goblins aren't known for their mercy or their intelligence.
We gotta give them a chance.
We can
Everyone
give them a
deserves
chance,
a
but I'm
chance.
just saying, let's just relax and have a nap because we need it, and we'll deal with it when they get here.
Everybody gets one chance.
I agree.
Are we actually going to stay long enough for a short rest?
Well, if you guys are not going to do anything, that they're not disrupting you at all. They're not interrupting you.
Yeah, I'm like
No,
one
let's
hit
do it.
point, so I'm having a nap.
A short rest.
Yes, please.
Unless they're going to take longer, and then let's take a long rest.
Short rest is unfortunately all you get. Flint, are you going to try and do anything whilst this short rest is happening?
I'll likely also have a short rest, but I'm gonna try my best to sort of put
Come on,
together
baby.
this flail.
Yeah, I'll live with
All right.
that. That's fine.
Yeah, the flail is not terrible.
Yeah.
So it's light work that you're doing. You're basically just sort of polishing up a bit of rust on the flail itself.
I feel a lot better.
So yeah, you guys have had your short rest. Some hit points recovered there. Yeah, everyone's gone green, which is good. Absolutely good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Got my
just gonna
spells back.
put Flint here at the work table up in the north.
Is
up there.
the
Pop
goblin
this
up by Flint?
in. No. He sits right next to the metal bars, watching you.
So I'm going to, when we wake up from the short rest,
Yep.
I'm going to send a message to Flint, which it doesn't cost anything, but I'm just like, I can easily open this door if you need us at any time. Just give me the word and I can do so.
Flint will sort of raise a polishing cloth that he's using on the flail up into the air, almost as if he's taking a big sort of rub against it. But as he does, he'll sort of gesture towards the cage with the thumbs up, and he'll just
Okay.
keep.
As you are about to start your shenanigans, I'm not sure what they are, but just before they start, this rather large man with even bigger mutton chops walks absently into the room. He seems to be polishing. Is it a gear of some kind? You're not entirely sure, but he's talking to somebody. No, that's not right at all. No, I don't think. Oh, where the hell are you? He says, and then he turns and walks back out again.
Was it just a human?
Yep. Slightly balding, slightly old human with big mutton chop.
Flint will make a distraction at the table.
Right.
Using the flail, he's going to just bang on the table super hard, hopefully trying to break the table so that
Sure.
they don't notice the balding dude who's apparently lost.
So you whack that table. Feloria, what are you going to try and do exactly?
Nothing yet. I'm waiting for my cue off Flint.
All right. So
But I'm probably going to go up to the goblin, like, so I see that there's been a lot of injured goblins, and there seems to be a lot of animosity, but we don't understand because we've been helping children. What has been happening to you people?
so that's what you're saying. As the
Yeah, I'm
table
like
is smashed.
hanging out the door,
Give
like
me a
arms to the
strength check,
bars, like,
Flint.
this
You have
is
advantage.
good. Let's have a chat.
Flint, give me a strength check. You have advantage on your strength check to try and smash this table to pieces.
That table ain't going nowhere. It's like, table!
This
Take
table
this
dies
table.
tonight.
17 strength, you smash the table to pieces. It wasn't made out of very good material in the first place. Feloria, as the goblin's about to answer you, he hears this table collapsing and rushes over to the table. What are you doing?
Your weapon seems to be operational. And I sort of hand him back the flail.
Why did you break my table? There's a dummy right there for testing equipment out on.
I would shout out, he's a golem. They're not known for understanding that.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
because
like
it's
you
your
know,
orders.
you think nothing can understand what anything that's not an elf knows about. You elvish trollop.
I sort of get behind the goblin, and I start sort of like patting his shoulders, like it's okay. She's not worth it.
Yeah, no, you're right. She isn't worth it. Yeah.
Just sort of trying to pull him back from getting too worked up about it.
All right, you pull him back, and yeah, he kind of calms down. He simmers down, I suppose you could say. A few moments later.
Can I ask a player question?
Sure.
Just real quick. Guys, what the hell are we doing? Like, I don't have a plan. I'm just going
No.
with-
So
Just
I can easily
wait.
get out of here. I just want to know what they're fighting and if it's an ally that we could potentially have.
All right.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with cooperation. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they actually are like good people, but like they're misunderstood.
Okay. Look,
Call me a
okay,
trollop.
so following
A lot of
the
hurt.
following
Needs help.
the investigation line, I'll start a conversation with this particular goblin, the one that I fixed the flail for, and I'll say elves are the worst, ain't they?
Well, on a scale of worst, I mean, the elves are pretty bastards, but the humans, it's just... No,
That's so
I'd be
mean.
hard-pressed.
Floor's right here.
And,
Oi, be quiet, you scummy bratling.
But it's so hard to nail down exactly what it is that made them the worst.
Well,
Probably our good looks.
there's their arrogance to begin with, he says.
Oh yeah, but all elves are like that, But there was something very special that made the you folk here really hate them.
You don't get out much, do you? Well, I suppose you're a golem. You don't really understand the idea of genocide and death and mayhem and destruction and hatred and enslavement. Well, I suppose you might understand enslavement, but yeah.
Well, no, we don't understand any of these big fancy words, but maybe you could tell us a bit more about these elf genocides and whatnot, and how it maybe affected you, so that I can learn these things, being a big dumb golem and all that.
Well, I don't like to talk about my wife.
Oh, I don't laugh.
He's just very quiet for a moment. You hear talking approaching, and this rather... He looks to be a little bit smarter goblin arrives, and he's followed by that strange old human that you saw before. And the goblin looks to you, Flint, and then looks down to the one who's been looking after you, and he says, Sergeant Floppo, what's going on here? Why are we talking to a machine, exactly? Is that a golem? The man next to him, the human, sort of squints at you. He sort of adjusts his spectacles, and no, that's not a golem. No, he starts walking towards you, Flint.
I sort of try to keep my cool as much as I can. I keep my hand sort of ready near Warren's mace.
Right, because yes, you do have Warren's mace. That's correct.
My Warhammer.
It's gonna be a gore hammer in a second.
The man, as he's walking towards you, Flint, you see that he has possibly not noticed the giant hole in the ground, and he is going to walk into it if you don't stop him. He's just walking towards you, going, No, if you look at the articulation, I think this is a mechanical
I'll
device.
rush over to try and push him out of the way of the open maw.
All right, give me an acrobatics or athletics check.
I think that's more or less the same. Let's see. Acrobatics is 3. Athletics is also 3. Okay, yeah. So. Go, dice, go!
And this is how war starts. You rush over to try and push him. As you do, the taller goblin rushes over as well, shouting, "It's an attack!" As looks as if you're sort of pushing towards this poor old man who's still completely absorbed in the idea of the whole thing. As let me just get this out of the way. Apologies. He strikes at you, Flint, rather nastily, and he hits you. Wow.
Wow. That's...
Wow.
Just as a quick question, when he
It appears Flint is shutting down.
just strike me,
We lost your connection for a moment, Michael.
could I potentially position myself so it looks like I'm protecting the old man?
Yes, it does look as if.
Okay, sorry.
You can.
Could I
you can.
move?
Correct. And that's why you take the blow. He hits you for 7 points of damage. I'm going to roll initiative because I sense that things may change at this present moment in time. So he has just acted. Warren, what are you doing?
I'm just gonna. Please don't fight, you guys. He almost fell in the hole.
The goblin captain stays his hand for a moment, looks at you. Oh, fucking human. So that's what his response is. Flint's?
Flint sort of looks to the old man and sort of says, "Y'all gotta watch where you're going."
He sort of looks around. Oh, my. Yes, I'm well. Feloria?
I'm watching this unfold. I'm holding my action. But
Alright.
if they go to attack Flint again, I will use my action then.
All right. So you're basically readying up to open up. The goblin who seems to be in charge looks at the hole, looks at you, looks across at Floppo, the goblin guard, who sort of nods, and you're all very near the hole. And the goblin then lowers the sword. Well, it's not smart to make gestures. What? I don't care. Where did he come from, Floppo? He says to the guard. He was part of the elves that we arrested, and the human, the ones that are on. He sort of just points rather awkwardly at the two of you. The old man looks at you, Flint. You are a construct of some kind, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I could be mistaken. If you were a construct, it would require a tremendous amount of sophistication. The gnomes might have possessed that once, but sadly they're no longer. Are you ancient gnomish technology? Are you from the race of gnomes?
Well, in a manner of speaking, but
It speaks.
Sir, did you just speak? The gnomes
Did you
are gone.
hear that? Captain Carpo, did you hear? It's remarkable, he says as he looks you up and down. I wouldn't have said it was even possible. It's quite unusual, actually. Yeah.
But you wait. You just said the gnomes are all gone.
Well, yes, of course, the gnomes are all gone. They were wiped out several hundred years ago, as a matter of fact. I believe the last one actually went extinct probably about 200 years ago, which was unfortunate because there was some genetic breeding in there that we could have possibly have used. But, well, I wasn't around at the time, so I couldn't really make that decision. I must study this, Carpo, if you please. Where did you come from exactly? That's another question. The goblin looks at this old man and at you, Flint, and then starts striding over towards you, Feloria, and Warren. All right. So how did you discover us? Or am I going to have to beg and plead and try and get you to tell me of your own volition?
Well, that would be nice.
Look, no, we felt we were in combat, and then we fell out of the sky again, and then we just kind of appeared out of nowhere. We are shippers. No, that's all right. Sure, shifters. Shifters. That's right. We came out of a weird dimension thing. Anyway, you know,
I think there's been a bit of confusion because where we're from, the goblins are not normally so terrified of other races. We actually quite get along. So I don't understand where the hatred came from for humans and elves.
He looks impassively at the two of you. Sargy Floppo, are you wearing your underwear of protection? Yep, damn right I am, boss. Absolutely, yeah. He looks back at the two of you. He sort of looks at his loincloth, which he pulls aside slightly, checks, nods.
Oh, God.
I'm completely impervious to your mind tricks, elf. Your lies and deceptions are not going to work here. And as for your performance, youngling, I know that you might not look like you're much of a warrior at the moment, but you're still vicious. All humans are. Right, so
we're not
What can we do to prove it to you?
Well, yeah, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? We'll open up the cage, let you prove it. You come out here.
No, we can prove it here.
And you
We're inside the
every
cage.
last one of us.
You have our
don't you know,
golem. You have our weapons. So what could we do to prove it?
As he's about to start talking, there is this deep blast of a horn. It sounds 3 times. Frop, frop, frop. And he looks up in absolute panic. Looks over. Floppo, don't you let these bastards out of their sight. They've led the enemy straight to us. I knew it. I knew you would trouble.
What?
He says. He rushes out. He gets to the main exit. As he gets there, he turns and he says, Berg, just don't touch the toy, all right? It might be a booby trap or something that these bastards have sent in with them.
We
The
don't
old
even know
man
who the
doesn't
enemy
even
is
hear
that
it.
you speak of.
Do I recognize this horn sound? Does it sound like a human
then
or
disappears.
or an elven, or do I recognize the instrument being used?
It's definitely a large horn. By the crudeness of it, it's not human and it's definitely not elvish.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a refined sound. There's timbre notes in there that are just very odd.
Nasty.
Its timbre is strange. Yeah.
Okay.
Flint sort of mutters, I ain't a boop, you're a boop.
Well, yes. Right. I should probably go and get. I should go and get the plans. Bad thing if they got them. Are you going to be leaving anytime soon? Mechanical.
I'll stay right here, don't you worry nothing.
I don't suppose you identify it with a name.
Yeah, folk call me Flint.
Folk call you Flint. That implies an awfully familiar relationship that you are fostering. You have dare I even say it, friends?
I have those who have known me for an extended period of time.
Ah, there we are. The machine failing. Yes, so clinical. Well, I suppose not all obstacles can be overcome. Tell me, there's that 3 sharp horn blasts again. Oh, right. Well, I'll be back. Flint.
The plans, sir. You
Yes,
need to...
I must get to the plans. Now, Flint, my name is I suppose you could call me Berg. Can you pronounce Berg?
Berg.
Yeah, remarkable. I must figure out how that works. This could change the entire course of the rebellion. You have no idea. Well, Now, where did it...
Can I shout out to him like, wait a second, what rebellion? We really are as clueless as we say we are.
He turns and he looks at you. We all realize what we don't know once we know that we don't know it. Yes, I agree entirely.
So what's this rebellion? What's happening right now? We don't know.
Well, no. Wait, this...
How do we join the cause?
The captain warned me. You might try and use elvish mind tricks on me.
Do you not wearing your special underwear?
I don't think, to be perfectly honest with you, that is actually going to assist in any way, shape, or form against elvish mind magic. Considering where they're wearing it to begin with, I think there would be a very much greater reduction in efficacy of said underwear.
Berg,
yes.
I couldn't help but notice that you're human, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
These people seem to have a slight aversion to your kind. I mean, why are you working with these goblins anyway?
Well, I don't belong to the Nezar Empire. They have no reason to dislike me at all.
What empire do you belong to?
Well, I suppose I don't really belong to an empire. I believe in what Kevzis is sort of fighting for, I suppose. We shouldn't necessarily have empires, I don't think. Well, certainly not the ones that we've got at the moment, because they're absolutely atrocious. But then they have brought peace and order to everything. But once they shut down my research, I'm afraid I didn't have a choice. I had to depart. I really did. You see, there's something that's much greater. There's a bigger threat than just what we see here. He sort of leans in and he whispers, I think that we are about to be invaded by a rather nasty species of insect. There have been signs. No one, of course, believes me, but well, you know that it is what it is. Now, I really must be getting back to my.
Can we hear that at all or no?
Yeah, you can hear
we
all
hear
of
that cover?
Let me ask you something real quick.
Well, I suppose.
Go on, you guys go.
Okay, no, like if the moment Warren we hear like he's gonna like try shake open the door, just be like,
What? You gotta let us out! We just faced a bunch of those things! They're gonna come here! They're gonna hurt everybody! Let us out!
Wait, what do you mean you just faced... You faced insects?
They're real! Grr!
and they're like start trying to break that door open.
Like,
You
Warren,
stop that
calm
right now, you human, says Floppo, sort of rushing
Look, I'm
forward.
sorry about your wife. You probably are a good person, and you've been prosecuted in a horrible way. But if you want to protect all of your friends and people that are still alive and precious to you, let us out! Let us help!
He kind of glares and holds his flail a little bit tighter. You don't know anything about my wife, you slime-covered piece of filth. Don't you even speak about her. You're not worthy to walk in the ground that she used to roll in, you miserable human.
As he's distracted, can I try and lift the key from his pocket?
Oh, sure. Give me a sleight of hand check. Oh, dear.
Oh, save me a spell.
Wait, do I get advantage because he's distracted?
Yeah, and he's distracted and exceptionally emotionally unstable at this present moment in time.
Yay! Okay, come on, baby.
Nice. You slip it over the natural 20. No trouble whatsoever. And yeah, you got the key. He kind of glowers at you for the briefest of moments, Warren. As he's about to run forward, though, to engage whatever it is that you're doing, this very dark-skinned elf steps into the room. He has this very bloodied, double-bladed longsword, and he sees Warren. Oh well, he sees Flint, I should say, and snarls at him. Then he sees the goblin, and spits out in Elvish. Floria, you can understand this, and anyone else who speaks Elvish can as well, for that matter.
Okay.
He spits out, "We found your little cave. Now, prepare to die, you horrid little creature. In the name of the Shavist Empire, death greets you." And he starts walking forward. Floppo screams. Where did Floppo go? I deleted Floppo. Oh dear.
Yeah, I was right. I was like
He just dies from fear.
He just dies from fear. No, Floppo, come back, Floppo. Sorry, I was just trying to clean up the board, and I've got his character sheet all here and ready, and it's just about changing his name to Floppo.
With Floppo.
Nice.
So
I actually feel really bad for Floppo.
Floppo is now there. There's Floppo. Floppo goes rushing forward with his brand new flail in a desperate attempt to engage this very dark-skinned elf who is now charging forward. That's going to take us back into initiative, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a very brief break. I need to go and get something to get rid of the slight cough that's happening, and hopefully if you are still with us, you can engage with the players. If you guys have got the option to have a look at that chat. Michael, I know that you're in the middle of nowhere, so perhaps if Kai and Freddie, you wouldn't mind just having a look at that chat. Is there any chat to even look at? I don't know.
What are we having a look at?
The chat streams.
Okay, hang on. I will stream.
I mean, I got it up right now, so
there's some things going on there. They'll Floppo died. No, he did not die. He's back. I found him. I'll be back very briefly.
All right.
Yep, see you in a sec.
So, what does our chat say?
I feel so bad for Floppo. I legitimately want to be friends with these goblins really badly. Like, I want to help them.
I want to be friends with the elves.
I don't know. Like,
this guy is being racist for no reason.
We don't know anything about them, so I'm kind of in the mindset where I'm just like waiting for someone to do something outrightly against like what Flint thinks we should be on the side of, which at the moment no one's done anything. Like, there's this one guard who's threatened that we might be executed, but that's not really what happened. And,
I know. I've been like sitting there with the knock spell the entire time. Like, all right, well, either this is gonna go really well, or I'm just gonna go.
Like the thing is, like with the goblins, so it's like as much as Warren can grasp, they're just hurt. They're just hurt from like losing people that they love from like these rules that is completely unjust and unfair. So like he's just completely like no, like I don't want to hurt these guys. They just took us as a misunderstanding, as a threat.
Yeah. I just want to get us to a safe place so we can actually take a long rest somewhere safe before we figure out what's the hell is happening.
I don't know if we're gonna get that too soon.
Well, I am an elf, and I can probably convince them to allow us to continue on to their encampment so we can have a rest and maybe a tent. Especially if the bugs are coming, because that's a threat to both.
Yeah. That's why it'd be cool. We can like, if we could somehow, I don't know how I'm gonna try and think of implying this, but if we could like maybe bring it all down to a peaceful conversation, hopefully, maybe we could be like, we should work together. These bug guys are gonna kill us all.
Yeah.
All right. A big hello to everyone on YouTube and Twitch. If you do have any questions, feel free to throw them out in the chat. I've got the YouTube live chat up now, so
oh, fantastic. That way we can see from both ends.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions about like what we're doing or any feedback, I mean, we love feedback. We love like hearing about what you guys
should we actually tell them like, you know, what we did for the level up, so that way people aren't confused like why I'm just like, oh, like saying random stuff.
Go ahead. I feel like you kind of leapt into that at the start, so yeah, I mean, Freddie, do you want to say what you've got first?
Sure. Like I only did just because like it was I didn't expect Warren to actually be woken up so quickly. So like I was like, oh, I gotta describe this. I'm calling it Dragon Sight, but I have 2 invocations, which is the Eldritch Sight and the Devil Sight. So now I can see if there are magic items, and 120 feet normal magical darkness. And how many times have we jumped? I think technically, like in like one same place, we jumped 2 or 3 times.
We jumped
like
3 times in the same world.
Yeah.
In the same pattern. So we started in one place, and then we jumped back to find Old Warren again, and then we went through the actual mission. And then when we met the clack clack door, I jumped us back a 3rd time to meet Old Warren again, and now we've jumped to this new place.
Yep.
We just kept skip and repeat.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I mean, honestly, the first 3 episodes, like when we did that, like there was this moment of like Groundhog's Day where it's like, oh God, we're back. You know, like it was just a moment of because we know everything that's going to be there. I'm just really glad that I told them to kill that goddamn satyr. I was so angry.
I'm still waiting for like this. Like I've been waiting for this one moment, and I can't spoil it yet. But like it's a Flint and Warren moment, and I'm still like, we're gonna get there. We just need a long rest. It's coming.
Yeah, we'll get there. Oh, I'm just kind of worried now. I'm thinking like he's like smite construct. Yeah. No.
Might have to.
So what did you take, Flynn?
What did Laura get for the? I was asking you. I
guess ladies first. I don't know.
Well,
So instead of my ability score,
mine's reasonably easy. Like being a fighter, I didn't really. I'm a lady. So.
Go ahead, Flint.
You got your. No. You go. This time I will actually be quiet.
Oh. So instead of taking my ability score modifier, I took feat lucky. So that means I can re-roll dice 3 times. It's one of my favorite feats ever. Because I have horrible luck of rolling 1s on my dice in real life, and it's horrible. So I can redo that. And then for I got an extra 2nd level spell. I took knock, which is what I've been waiting to use. It's like, yeah, this is fine. I don't need the keys. I can just go, let me out.
I forgot to mention that. No, we'll do Flint first though, because but yeah, you do your stuff.
Oh, okay. So for me, I didn't actually get that much. I got a new feat, which I got crossbow mastery, which we kind of like tweaked around a little bit. So
I'm so glad we got that.
Yeah, basically I can reload. I removed the loading capacity of my gun, so I can just keep firing. Not that helps me with my bullets, but that'll help a little bit. And I think that was all I really got. I didn't really get anything else this level. Like
Did you level up your ability score?
No. Instead of the ability score, I got the crossbow mastery.
Oh right, you got the feat.
Yeah, so that was it.
I'm not going to get to those like lovely feats or ability score improvements for a while, but I still like what's going on. So like I said before, got the 2 Eldritch Invocations, which just I'm summing up as Dragon Sight, pretty cool. But I have a bunch of spells, but not a lot of slots. So I have Tales of Delu, Arms of Hadar, Bless Command, Comprehend Languages I can cast once a day, Cure Wounds, Expeditious Retreat, Guiding Bolt, Hex, Protection from Evil and Good, and Shield of Faith. Whew. It's only 2 classes. It's just Celestial Warlock and Paladin, but I think it's gonna be fun. But we should get back to it. Yeah.
Also from YouTube, very big thank you to Adrian 1976. It actually means a lot that somebody from the southern USA thinks that my accent's okay. I admit it was actually the first like full-on American accent I actually tried. So I'm glad that I'm not butchering it too much and making it like too terrible. So yeah,
no,
thank you for that. No.
I don't. You cannot hurt the accent we have. We're just everywhere.
Fair enough. Because I'm being Australian, I actually have a yuppie Australian accent. So I actually have like the highbrow upper class Australian. Whereas we actually have Bogan, which is like a really thick ochre accent, which is what a lot of people are accustomed to. So doing like the American version of the Bogan accent was actually kind of what I wanted to avoid, because I didn't want to just sound like this hillbilly robot that was just running around shooting people.
Yeehaw! Nobody shoot me about you want a robot.
Shoot 'em all.
Plays the banjo and everything.
Who needs me a cup of motor oil?
Oh God.
Yep. Because they all talk.
Okay.
Oh, apparently you muted, guy.
I hear him.
I hear him too.
And the stream doesn't hear me because I muted the stream there. There we go.
Okay.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. One day, you know,
One day we'll get it all right,
One
right?
day. Just not now. Just not now.
So when this guy walks in and speaks in Elvish, can I speak back to him in Elvish like, "Ah, you heard my calling card. Thank you for coming with reinforcements."
That's what you're saying to him?
Yeah, to the elf, because
To-
I was the one who set off the scream so they could find us.
Right, that's an interesting shout that you give to him. I'm going to run this through an initiative as it goes through here because I have to, otherwise it's going to be absolute chaos. However, give me a perception check, all three of you.
Okay.
What was that sound?
Oh, it was me using my eyes really hard.
Nothing
Well,
from
Flint sees
Flint.
everything.
Hard at all.
Flint rolled a 2.
Yeah.
I'm
uh,
blind.
Oh no.
What's happening?
No.
All right, so yeah, the two of you, Warren and Floria, as Floria starts shouting at Elvish, the warrior seems to look at her, and this panic washes across the elf's face. Floria, what are you doing apart from shouting out to him?
Nothing. I'm just hanging off the door, like chilling out. He's like, "Hey, welcome to the party. How's it going?"
Warren?
Oh.
Completely calm.
Let me just do this quickly. There we go. Warren?
Because I was trying to shake the door open.
That's right.
So.
It's a pretty robust door. You're going to actually try and bash it open? You're going to try
Yeah.
and physically manipulate it open?
Nah.
Okay. Give me a strength check if you please.
Okay. Be like, we gotta get out. The bugs are coming.
It's a really well-made door. You start pulling...
I did a save. That's not right. I'm sorry. There we go.
Well, it's a little bit better. You can see there's bits of stone that wants to come free, but they have designed this to be quite robust.
You try to pull this door off where I'm literally hanging on it.
This Berg
Position to be in.
sees what's going on. No, I can't be seen here. And he goes rushing off down there. Flint?
Well, seeing as the what was his name again? I want to say
Floppo?
Floppo.
Yeah, Floppo's got his flail. He's busy about to engage in combat with this elf.
Yep, seeing as Floppo escaped, I'm going to move behind where he is, trying to stay in his blind spot, and hand the other two their weapons and open the door.
Not a problem. So you can get to their weapons. The weapons are on this little crate here.
I thought I was carrying them.
Oh, you were carrying them. Sorry, you're quite right. They haven't yet taken them off you. That's me drawing the map going, well, I'll put their weapons here. Meanwhile, you haven't yet been given that order. So, yeah, it's not a difficulty whatsoever. You get over to that door. You've got that key. Do you try and use the key yourself, or do you try and hand it over to Floria?
For the sake of the subterfuge, I'll hand it to Floria.
Surreptitiously? Yeah. Warren is like, I got this!
I'll
I'll just like put a hand on him, like, "I got this." Clink.
Yeah,
She's like,
also really
I did it.
Up watching it, like just
Yeah. Way to go,
Gotcha.
buddy. Good
All
job.
right. That's what you're doing. I don't think these ones. This is number one. All right. He swings for the goblin. The goblin screams at him in defiance. He swings for the goblin. This is literally the GM playing with himself now because it's NPC versus NPC.
Oh,
Does not
you had
do-
to say it that way.
Does not do a huge amount of damage. However, he does have to make a Constitution saving throw, which we will now try and make for him. I've got the wrong character sheet open here. Give me a second. There he is. Constitution saving throw, and he's busy raising his flail back to try and smack this elf, but his flail drops to the floor as he completely passes out. He drops to the floor, asleep. Absolutely.
Good job.
Absolutely out of it. He's not even. There he is. There he is. I couldn't find him. Yeah. So he is asleep. And out of it, the drow then moves over, steps forward, so Floppo falls asleep, and he very casually kicks Floppo down the hole.
What? There's nothing we can do to stop him, I guess. No,
sadly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he just kicks Floppo down the hole.
Like, Floppo, no!
And then drops to his knees in a bow.
Ooh.
They're not there. They're not there. He's not there. So, Feloria.
I'm going to walk forward and say, I've been informed that the bugs might be coming. How much time do we have?
I'm going to take us out of combat because my computer will not open up my notes. Never had that problem before. It's like, no, you will not see the sacred notes that you have written down. Ever, apparently. Why is it not showing me these things? My computer
It's testing your
hates me.
memory.
Apparently. Yeah, when you don't commit things to memory, right? So he bows low and he says, I am but a humble servant. Velstoy, I do not know whom you speak of.
Very well. If you would be so kind to escort us out.
We are still subduing the rebels, but it will not be long before it will be safe for your departure.
There is a gentleman, a man I would describe, Berg. I want him brought to me, unharmed.
Your orders are very clear on the treatment of that human. It will be our pleasure to find him and bring him to you, Volstoy.
Very well.
So, are we still in combat?
No,
Or
we're out of
it?
combat now.
Okay.
The
Just want
door-
to go over to the hole. See if I can see him.
You walk over to the hole, kind of pushing past everybody. It's just darkness all the way down.
Further than 120 feet. It's really deep.
It is really deep. I was not aware this was a joint operation. Volstoy, should I inform our other operatives that there may be more humans present?
That would be good so they don't attack on sight. You may leave and spread the word.
Why would we attack humans on sight, Volstoy? Or have we finally made the decision?
Not quite yet. But there seems to be some that are helping the goblins, which is why I want the other human. I don't want him being mistaken for one of them.
Understood. Do you wish me to remain here with you or to go after this human, Volstoy?
I prefer you to go after the human since you know what I want for his treatment.
As it is ordered, so it is done. And he
Thank
starts
you.
slinking off down the passageway, completely ignoring the rest of you. You can hear the sounds
shit,
of battle
guys!
going on all around you.
Oh
What are you doing?
my god! What just happened?
Well, let's see. Let's see if we can take stock of this. There's some kind of war between the elves who are kind of working with humans, but ain't working with humans. There are goblins who are trying to survive in caves, and they're about to get wiped out. I think that's pretty
Okay,
much some of it.
so-
Oh, and Floppo in a hole, and I don't think he made it because I ain't heard him bounce yet.
That's a great assumption. Okay. We can use this to our advantage at this point because we need to get the word out that the Clack Clack are coming. As they will listen to me, that's great because we can order them about to create defenses to protect the others.
Are we not gonna help these poor goblins? They haven't really done anything wrong and they're being attacked.
We don't know if they haven't done anything wrong. Since we got here, they literally took us prisoner and threatened to execute us. We can try to help the women and children. We can try to help anyone who would be good and kind. Like, we don't know the situation here, but we do know the clack clack door is on its way here.
I'm going to walk over to the big flag that they had on the way in, and I'm going to grab one of the human skulls, and I'm going to give it to Warren.
It's a musty old human skull.
I think it's safe to say that when you decorate your home with the skulls of your enemies, generally speaking, you know, might possibly not be completely innocent of things.
That just means both sides are misunderstood. Damn it! Well, we can just talk about all this.
This is why if we can get them to stop fighting each other and fight the clack clack door, you know, it might be beneficial.
Fine, whatever.
We might be able to find other shifters. Remember the last place we went to? There were shifters there.
I didn't seem to know too much about shifters when we asked them.
Yeah, but you asked goblins. They're not known for their... Well, look where they live. They're not known for their vast education and knowledge.
Another drow comes marching in. He has a few slash marks on his features, but otherwise he seems relatively unharmed. He is dragging the one goblin who seemed to be in charge behind him towards the pit. The moment he sees you, Feloria, he stops and instantaneously he salutes and bows before you. I was not aware there was a Volstoy here.
I was on my own mission.
Understood. Might I continue with my execution then, Volstoy?
I'm gonna walk forward. I'm just like, we might have more pressing matters than this execution. Throw him in the prison. We need to talk. And I'll hold the door open.
Give me an insight check. All three of you can give me an insight check, actually.
18.
12. Yeah.
I'm trying to save this guy just for Warren.
I know.
Wow, Flint, you're remarkably perceptive for a biomechanical construct.
Good job, buddy.
It looks as if that's a very strange order that this individual has been given. He tenses for just a moment.
I'm gonna walk forward. I'm like, because I sense his hesitation. Like, did I stutter? Do as I command.
Yes, Volstoy, immediately. He drags the goblin past you, I'm assuming, and tosses him into the cage. It looks as if the goblin is asleep. He's not saying anything. But the moment he lands on the rough dirt, he starts to groggily come around. The drow closes the door, the gate to the cell. I will remain here to guard the prisoner, I'm assuming, Volstoy.
How many are with you in your party?
We are a standard infiltration unit of 4.
Wonderful. We might be having a bigger problem coming soon. Do you have any what do I need? I'm gonna start pacing, what do I need?
If there is a more dangerous threat in these caves, we wish to know it. There is a significantly large beast at the entrance that was quarrelsome. 2 of my men have been quite severely injured, and the remaining
Something worse than that, but
pushing...
not in here. There are these creatures, bug-like. They come through portals, and they also seem to be infiltrating and destroying cities. They might be on their way here. Known as the Clack Clack Door.
I am honored that you would share such information with me, Volstoy. I am not aware...
Are there the Volstoys with you? Leading the way.
his eyes narrow. Because of your insight checks, all three of you, you realize that perhaps that might have been an error. His hand seems to go for his double blade at his side. I don't understand the question.
These goblins did a weird magic. They threw it at her. She's saying weird things.
Very well, Nazar. We will accept that for now. Perhaps you should stay here. I will call our commander.
She might need a medic.
In which case, then, perhaps we should escort you out of these caves immediately.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being under here.
Where are your men? I can help them.
They're engaged with the goblins. There's a small group that is putting up resistance towards a waterfall territory. It is quite difficult to penetrate. We will, however, have them within the hour.
Okay.
Perhaps we just need to rest. It's been a very long day for some of us.
Indeed. He starts to lead you out of the cave towards the top end. He doesn't seem to pay you too much attention, Flint. As I'm not entirely sure why. Are you doing anything specific?
Without drawing too much attention, I want to try and grab the keys that I gave to Philoria.
The keys
I'll
are
hand
in the
them
cell
to you.
door, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll leave them in the cell, and I'll sort of gesture at the goblin to sort of stay here, keep quiet.
He is a very groggy sort of state, but he does not look to be in a very good state mentally. Nonetheless, you're led up north through this entrance again into the similar smelling cave system, and you realize that it must connect because you're taken through there. That passageway originally that you didn't know where it went, you're taken through that, taken across the bridge. You can see that the lever had been pulled and the bridge had fallen away, but there appears to be a very white sticky morass that's been spread across it. It must be the web spell, and then wooden planking thrown across that so that you don't get stuck in it. Out from there, you're then led out through the cave exit and back out into that large oaken field, which I won't bring up. We all know what that looks like. Now, once you step outside, you can see that there is a contingent of very highly armored, brilliantly armored, and by brilliant I mean brilliant silver shining armor. There are 12 elves standing in this regalia with... They have the same skin tone as Philoria. The moment Philoria steps out, all 12 of them immediately bow their heads and place their arms on their shoulders as a sign of supplication. A very arrogant one who has this large plume in his helmet immediately steps forward and makes the symbol towards Philoria and then bows lowly, his blue cape swirling him around him. Volstoy Philoriat, we were not aware that you were in the caves. You must forgive our impudence. If we had known, we would not have continued with the operation. However, one of our scouts heard a noise in this area, and that alerted us to this infestation.
That was me, and I was hoping you heard. Thank you very much for your timely arrival.
I was not aware that you had been taken prisoner.
I wouldn't say prisoner.
Infiltration?
I was hoping to find...
I spoke over you. I apologize. He just remains bowed.
You may rise, my lord.
He rises and looks at you.
There's a human in here who might have plans. I want them.
As distasteful as they are, our drowish infiltrators are doing their work, Volstoy. I am sure as soon as they have found this human, they will bring him to you. In the meantime,
Wonderful.
perhaps... Volstoy.
My friends and I have been traveling for a very long time. Where can we rest?
I was about to suggest perhaps I can have a contingent of men escort you back to our forward camp. Not the luxurious state apartments that you are used to, but I'm certain they will be far more accommodating than whatever it was that you had to endure within the caves. Might I be permitted to ask a question?
You may speak.
What do we do with our friend, the Nazarite, and his toy? He says, looking directly at you, Warren, and then at you, Flint.
I need them.
I whisper to Warren, someone calls me a toy again, I'm going to start ventilating people.
I'm just like, they're mine and they will be not touched.
Of course.
They will follow me to the tent.
I'll turn to her and just be like, Your Grace.
You may speak. I feel like horrible, by the way, but I'm trying to play this part. I have no idea what the hell is happening.
Yeah. So like without turning and be like, You will listen here. I am her appointed guard, and no one shall touch her as long as I live or stand and breathe. And if you plan to get in the way of that, I don't care what treaties or laws are out there, I will smite you.
I kind of look at the guy with the plume and I'm like, he's very excitable.
He raises his hand to the salute, steps aside. Mine is not to judge whom you choose to bed, Volstoy. He points to 4 guards, summons them forward. They will escort you back to our forward camp, where your needs will be taken care of. If I might be permitted to send a runner ahead, at least to inform Latant Badowski that you are coming, he might make better preparations, Volstoy. Or are you preferring to continue this subterfuge?
I would ask that we get to our chambers and be uninterrupted while we rest, and then afterwards I would like an audience with them. I would like them brought to me.
But of course, I will also ask the camp to furnish you with more suitable attire, unless that is part of the deception as well.
I'm gonna look down at my clothes. I'm like, I would agree that I am done with this.
He bows, he looks at the 4 guards, they surround the 3 of you, and then one of them gesticulates this way, Volstoy. And they start moving with you. You hear someone else being ordered to rush ahead, and one of the elvish guards literally sprints past you. He doesn't have his shield or his spear with him, or his helmet or his heavy armor. He sort of dropped all of that and is busy legging it as fast as he can ahead of you. As you leave, you hear the captain, or whatever he was, well, she's certainly trying to sleep with something younger than her offspring. Anyway, now, he sort of mutters that as he turns back to the caves themselves.
I'm gonna message Flint and Warren. What the fuck do I do? What do I do?
Keep a straight face. I don't like to lie, but we have to do it.
They seem to know me. They said they used my name, so...
Flint says, well, there was an old Warren. I mean, ain't no reason why there ain't another Philoria floating around. Maybe
We
they...
should tell the truth later. tell the truth to your other self later. Maybe she can help us.
Look, maybe it's just
I
me.
would,
I don't
I would
think.
turn to one of the elves right near me. Like I would probably like ignore Flint because I just realized something really important to Feloria, and just like I was hit with a spell. My mind seems confused. What news do you have of Virion?
Lord Varian is currently involved in the Eastern Campaign, Volstoy. I believe he is being victorious and has achieved an almost total eradication of the centaurs.
Good. I'm proud of him. Thank you for the update.
As we all are.
The hell is a centaur?
I want someone to. Well, I'll rest first, and I'll talk to you later. And I'm just gonna keep walking. And if anyone looks, Feloria is visibly starting to like shake a little, like her hands, and she's trying to hold it together.
In order to kind of maintain the illusion, Warren and Flint. Oh, sorry. Flint will sort of take Warren by the shoulder and sort of make it so that we're both walking like just a couple steps behind wherever Feloria is, side by side. Flint will turn to Warren and sort of noticing that Feloria is shaken, sort of say over to him, "Now, listen here. We need to keep a good eye out. Whoever this other Feloria might be, I don't reckon there's much in common they have with our lady here. And anyone who's at the head of an army that is conducting genocide on this kind of level may not be someone we want to be friends with. I know you had a lot of hope for the goblins back in that their cave, but, you know, while we might not see eye to eye all the time, we definitely see that there's a definite line in the sand that we need to be able to hold up against. So
There's not a lot of options left. We'll have to keep our eyes and ears open. If we can.
right.
I don't know. We gotta help somehow. I just don't see it yet. I wish you would just tell me.
Flint sort of puts his hand like sort of pats him on the back and says, "I saw how you handled those giant bugs, and Warren, for what it's worth, you handled yourself well. You made sure that we got out of there safe. I reckon none of us would be here if it weren't for you and your bravery. So keep to it and make sure that you don't lose faith in that, no matter what happens in the future. And if that means we're gonna have to stand up against someone who's got the face of one of your friends, I know that you're gonna be strong enough when we get there. Right?"
Mm-hmm. 'Cause she's right here.
"Yes, he is, mate. Yes, he is." And I'll sort of pat him again.
The other one's clearly fake.
Your escort eventually gets you probably about 4 miles away from the cave system. There's a large plain that opens up in front of you, and it is a magnificent sight of industry. Great wooden fence posts of a stockade have been put up that completely encircle this massive camp. There are tents everywhere, great white linen circular tents in beautifully neat rows. You can see elves moving about, all in that resplendent armor. A magnificent pavilion sits atop a mound right in the center of this camp, and several banners flutter off from the top of it, all in this very stark. It's a brilliant red, I suppose. With the symbol that has been imposed upon it. And the symbol is a circle and split in half. On the one half is this very resplendent lion, and on the other half is this very resplendent dragon.
The one on the tattoo.
The one on the tattoo, correct.
Oh no.
Warren
didn't see this though. I saw it on old Warren, but Warren wasn't with me.
Yeah, correct.
Oh shit, buddy!
As you arrive at the camp,
Grace?
you are escorted through these large gates with these wooden towers above it. Inside, there is the sound of running feet as the doors are being pushed open to allow you entrance. And on either side, there are easily 600 soldiers, all standing at absolute attention as you are brought into this camp, all very resplendent. And walking rather hastily forward is this fairly podgy elf. He has another elf. No, not an elf, you realize. It looks to be like a satyr because of the hooves. You've seen these before. Is busy desperately running behind, trying to clip straps and things onto this podgy elf's armor as he sort of strides forward.
Do I recognize him? Since like these are my people. Would I recognize him from my world?
This one you haven't met before, no.
All right.
And he approaches you. He sort of dismisses the 4 guards. I am deeply honored, Volstoy, to have you in my camp. I am Tavgeny Badowski, and it is an honor to be graced with a presence such as yourself. If we had known that you were in this area, we would have prepared better amenities. As we speak, I am having my engineers design quarters that are more suitable for yourself. You, I hope, will find my meager pavilion up to your standards until such a new structure has been designed and erected in your honor. We are uncertain as to your reason for being here, but we are welcomed and blessed by it.
Where did you think I was?
It is not for me to question where you might be or not be, Volstoy.
Well, you know where Varian is, and you know where he is in the campaign. Where did you think I was?
In the capital, Volstoy, with
I see.
the Empress, but we do not know the movements of our betters, and we shouldn't either. We know our place. All hail the Alliance. Now, you must be tired after your ordeal. I have heard scant news, but being amongst the goblins must have been most trying. Only a true champion of the Empire would have put herself in such a predicament. You are a symbol to all of us, he says as he sort of ushers you towards the larger pavilion. He looks at you, Warren, and of course we welcome anyone who is the protector and companion of our Volstoy. We have already dispatched orders to the chef to prepare your cuisine as best we can.
I was also told that I'd be brought better attire for myself and my companions.
Of course, we are currently scouring the nearby establishments for something suitable.
I'm like totally stealing from myself, by the way.
Why not do it?
This chick clearly has too much. I'm just going to take some for us.
In the interim, we have had baths drawn up and can organize...
What is the security of this layout? How many guards do you have posted in this entire camp? Tell me this immediately.
We have a contingent of 1,500 men currently present. 500 are on active duty, sir. There are 150 on border patrols within the forests themselves, looking for more goblins. And then the rest are either sleeping or on duty around the walls.
What is the situation with the centaurs? Are they anywhere near our location at this very moment?
Unless you have any...
This is not a funny matter.
Of course not.
I've heard rumors, and I am being very cautious.
There are no reports of centaurs in this area. However, I will inform our patrols to be doubly cautious. I was not aware centaurs operated within the greater forests, but we will make sure that if they are, they won't be for long.
Beware of their magic, for they can cloak themselves.
this was a piece of information I was not privy to, but I am sure there are reasons for that. I do not question them. I thank you for supplying the information to us.
This
Do you
is
have
why
a high
I
level-
regard.
Do you have
Do
a
not
high
question it.
power? What?
No,
Sorry.
no, nothing. I'm just like hammering in this job as much as possible. So I will
Do you
try
have
to
a
look as
high-level
good as
mage?
possible.
We have several Archons with us, yes.
Bring me your finest in 8 hours' time to my tent.
So it is said, so it shall be done. He sort of steps aside, indicating the pavilion.
I'm going to go take a nap.
You
I tried to
stride
come up
in.
with a better plan. Oh my god!
I mean, are we all gonna like
You
go
can
together?
all,
Like,
you
are
can
we gonna-
all head up
I
into
think this
the
would be a
tent.
good opportunity to take a long rest.
Okay. Like when we get in there, I'm just gonna be like,
I'm very wandering.
I don't like lying. This feels so wrong. Oh my god, those poor horsey people. They're going to hurt everybody.
Flint, warn. We don't know who's listening, so just you keep the voice you were
Yeah.
doing. Keep the voice you were doing. Keep the voice you were doing. This is fine.
Flint is compared to the two just completely calm, collected. He's been observing everything as we've been going through. He looks around the pavilion. Given that it is the captain's camp, he looks to see if there's any like sort of war plans being drawn up or a map at the very least of the area.
Yes, the pavilion itself is lots of white canvas, and on the outside, on the inside, it's massive swathes of white silks. There are large sconces with open flames in them, sort of bringing illumination. The floor is heavily carpeted with it's the furs of various animals. There's a certain realization that some of these are probably sentient creatures that have been turned into carpets. There is a large central table, and upon that, yes, there are definitely maps of the territory, maps of the area. Little wooden figures have been placed in various sort of spots and things. And then there's a room beyond that has got, it looks like a massive bed in there and the like. Then there's another room off to the right where you can see these large white, you're not sure what they're made out of, but it's these large white tubs with steaming water inside of it. There are, however, at least 6. They must be slaves because they're wearing practically nothing, just a very simple, elegant loincloth, standing to attention. They are all definitely orc or maybe half orc. You're not totally convinced, but they all stand staring blankly ahead.
Would they have seen the two of them freaking out?
I wouldn't freaked out if I knew they were there.
Yeah,
Like if I saw them, like very clearly.
they are not in the room that you're in. They're standing in the bathing chamber and the bed chamber.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick look at the map and try to discern our location relative to the map, and I'm going to be looking for 3 particular places.
Right.
Number 1 is I'm going to be looking for what would be represented as the capital.
Okay.
Obviously, our current location. And I want to be looking at relative to my world, where continent-wise, where, is it the same, or am I looking at something completely vastly different? Like, am I on a different planet, basically, is the third looking at.
Well, the map, the geography looks the same. The world looks almost identical. But the map is divided into 3 colors. Very red color, which stretches over a large amount of territory. The territory that you knew as Gnomish-controlled expanse, where you're from, Flint, has a very dark shade over it, not the red shade that extends over most of it. And by the looks of things, probably You would say 80% of this geography is covered in either red or black, with red probably being a little bit more dominant than the black. Then there's just these areas on the map, these little zones, if you like, that are not yet colored. But you can see that's where most of the wooden figures are. Either red figures that sort of look vaguely like elvish spearmen, or black figures which look more like horse rider type things. Very few of those circles, not the one that you're currently at, because it's fairly obvious which one you are at. There are some circles that have both red and black figures surrounding them, or not circles, I mean sort of zones, if you like. The zone that you're currently around is on a piece of territory that you know as the Wastelands, which were basically abandoned because of the high incidence of unruly savages that would roam the territories, cannibalizing anything that sort of went in there. So the Wasteland's definitely not a happy place to be in. That's currently where you think you are. The nearest town, you don't recall it being called Pugglesnuff. You recall it being called something else. But that's roughly where you are in the northwest of the map, give or take.
Okay. At this point, Flint will do his best to try and remember as much of the local topography as he can. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna have like a picture-perfect map, but he's just he's just like cool.
All right.
He calls over to Warren and Feloria and asks them to have a look as well at the map, and he asks if they can recognize the map as well. Like, is this familiar to you? Are you guys familiar with this? This looks like our current area. Has a lot of similarities with where I'm from, but, well, there's, let's just say, a few differences. Is that the same with you guys?
In the Warren?
No, it does.
He's
The
not
names
really
are wrong.
gotten out much ever. And on top of that, like,
Have you seen a map before? No. Local one.
only drawn in the dirt, where Delo's like, okay, don't get lost in these woods here. There's a lot of big creatures there. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's about it.
For me, I'm assuming I would recognize much of the Elven lands, correct?
Yes.
Where I've been.
Except that where you come from, the Elvish territory is restricted to one fairly large sickle-shaped continent. Now, there are Elvish names that spread across 45% of the map. Some of them you definitely don't recognize, but because of the way that the elves constructed their names, they have names which translated into the common tongue would be names like New Empire. There is one which really roughly translated as City of Feloriat. It's your name but with a T on the end. Then right next to it, there's another one called Nuvarian. So there are all these names. They're obviously all in Elvish, but that's how they translate. It looks like a lot of them are fairly new cities.
All right. So I'm going to put a hand on Flint, like, just hold on. I'm going to go into the washroom, like, I want you all to go do something else. Leave. And I'm going to go to the bed chambers as well. It's like, you can all leave.
They all
I don't need
immediately
any of
about
you tonight.
face and leave.
What's the furthest away from all the walls I can possibly get these two other humans or two other people?
You think that would probably be the bathtub,
Okay, I'm going to bring them into the bathroom.
right? All right,
This is
And I'm
weird.
going to take the map off the wall too.
sure.
Wait, they're all...
In Elven...
Oh, now look. Okay, never mind. Carry on.
Okay, so I'm like, this here I recognize. Where I'm from, the lands are similar, but it's almost like at some point the Elven culture, the Elven people became conquerors. But this one, you might not recognize it. This is Elven from my name, except with a T on it. But I'm assuming that's just my name here. The version of me is Floriette. This one here, how do I put this delicately? This is the man I love the most, and I lost him. He died. I've been trying to get him back. He's here somewhere alive. I don't know how to explain to you how badly I want to see him right now.
Whoa. Laura, listen. I don't mean to be grease stains on the carpet here, but you need to remember this ain't the world that we come from. This ain't the world that you come from. Man, may be here, and if the map's to be believed, then sure you might find him, but it may not be the same person that you know. Okay, I'm not trying to say this to be mean, but you need to just make sure that you keep yourself steady. Yeah, you might be faced with some difficult choices, but
it seems like the elves started taking over everywhere else. But this seems weird because Viri and I, well, where we grew up, we were nothing. We had no power, we were just, well, he came from a middle-class family. I came from nothing. But with this power, maybe I became a powerful general or something and earned my way.
Well, look, for now, what we need to do is we need to figure out where exactly we're going to be heading. We've got 3 big problems here. The first of which is trying not to get caught and executed by an entire army of, what was it, Warren?
1,000 guards.
Elves.
Yeah, 1,000 guards. And most of them are here.
If we could bring Varian here, Varian might be able to help us. At least to maybe get out. Like, Varian's my partner. We complete each other. We always have. And even in this twisted world, we were still together. So maybe he might be able to help us if I can get him here.
This is really confusing.
See, here's the thing. If we bring other Floria here, people might think I'm an imposter. If we bring other Virian here, I have a way to prove what we're saying. It's morbid, it's dark, but I can prove it.
But look, what if he turns around and recognizes you as an imposter?
I'm not an imposter. I'm just from somewhere else, and I can warn him and the Elven clans of the clack clack door that are coming. But if they come here and see me, they might say I'm an imposter. If Virian comes here, I have a way of proving that what we say is true.
Warren, what do you think?
Here. It's not just so much desire to see him. This is.
Come on, listen. You're the only other impartial person here. I mean, chime in, son. Come on.
I think I need a minute. And I step away. What was the first room that we came in? I'm sorry, because there's a bed chamber.
Map room is the center, and then there's the bed chamber on the one side, and then around the back is this bathroom area that you've been brought into.
I'll go to the bed chamber. I need help, and before obviously I'll just I need a second to think. Just give me 10 minutes. And I sit down. I do the earth symbol to sit kind of like cross-legged.
Right.
Just
I'm imagining all the squeaking sounds actually happening.
Yeah, no, I'm just really nervous, but I'm just like, Dello, I know you're really far away. I don't know if you can hear me, but we're in trouble. I'm in trouble. I think I did some bad things, although I thought mostly I'm doing good things. But there's a lot of people dying. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing what you want. I need a sign. I need something, guidance. I'm just so lost. I can't help my friends, and yet I have the power to vanquish evil. I'm looking for my mom and my sister, and yet I have no clues to know where to even start. I know you put me with these two for a reason. One's, she's nice. The other's kind of weird. I don't know. But maybe I can help them too. Anything. Give me anything, please.
Roll a percentile die.
Where is that?
You right-click on the 10-sided die.
Oh, cool. The percentile.
Percentile, and then just roll. 13. No, did that give me?
Is
a
it
percentile?
10 and a 3? But that's not percentage. That's just adding 2 d10s.
Yeah. So don't right-click. So you right-click first on the D10.
Yeah, and then percentile. That's what I did. D100. Yeah, I clicked on that.
Oh. Is that how it represented? Well, 13 is absolutely fine. As you are saying these prayers, there is sounds like a foghorn. Which sounds off way in the distance.
I'm gonna
do we
go
hear that as well?
meditate.
Yeah, all of you hear it. Yeah.
It'd be loud enough, I guess. Floria's just gonna go to the bed chambers, and also technically
There is a
sleep.
nice,
Kind of
freshly drawn bath right there. Just hot, steaming water. It looks like.
I'll get into that, and then I'm gonna meditate I'm gonna do my Elven 4-hour sleep.
Right.
I'm gonna leave as she's undressing, mostly because the game is starting to rust me. So I'm gonna walk
Do
out.
you feel embarrassment by creature nakedness, or are you kind of beyond?
No. Flesh bags are flesh bags, but it's literally just the humidity slowly rusting my gears. That he's just, if it's a hot bath. I mean, I'm just imagining this steam everywhere. My lenses keep fogging up. I'm like having
hot in here.
I don't know if you noticed. I don't imagine that Flint has eyelids. So like trying to get rid of condensation on his lenses will just be like a very painstaking thing. Okay, so Flint is going to go to the entrance and just sort of step outside and take stock of the camp. See if he can figure out like a hierarchy system. Like the guy with the plume is obviously more important than these guys running around. Trying to decipher like whose uniform is in charge and whose uniform is kind of.
Absolutely. As you step out to look at the camp, the trumpet sound that you heard, you realize what it is. The four drow have returned, and in a caged wagon that's being pulled by, again, it looks like 6 or 7 orcish males. There is that human that you met in the caves, as well as 3 other goblins, one of which appears to be the goblin that was originally thrown into the prison with the command of the Volstoy. And the wagon is brought forward to the crested individual, who casually casts a glance up at the pavilion as these lot arrive, and then immediately sort of looks back at the wagon when he sees you standing there imperiously, Flint. And he sort of waves his hand towards the pavilion. There is another satyr who's busy digging, it looks like, some holes in the ground, about that big, in front of the pavilion. Currently there are 3 holes that are being dug out quite neatly, and then there are several poles, quite heavy, robust poles that have been set aside, with several elvish, they must be carpenters because they're not dressed in armor, busy, it looks like they're fashioning wooden crossbars onto these poles. They almost look like telephone poles, telegraph poles. Well, you'd know them as telegraph poles. Yep. So that's what you're seeing happening whilst your 2 companions are in deep meditation.
So much for that rest. I'm going to bow in response to the captain who's waved at me. I assume that gesture was something along the lines of, tell the mistress that.
Oh, he's resting. He's definitely
has
resting.
arrived in style. Sort of acknowledge the risk rusting and go inside, I will sort of, very, very abruptly, like not even with any kind of decorum, like just sort of go into the bath and sort of tell Feloria that looks as though they've come back with the wagon. Has that Burge fella and that goblin that they captured, they've just rolled into town.
We'll deal with that in 8 hours. We need to rest and get our strength back.
And the door opens because I said 10 minutes and just didn't not know any of this. It's like, guys, I don't think Dylan's talking to me. Okay.
What?
Flint's down there, sort of Feloria's completely stark as in the bath.
Flint,
Is there bubbles in this bath?
Sadly, no bubbles.
Oh.
I don't see. Wait, Flint, when do you ever take off your armor?
Have you been thinking he's a metal?
And on that note, we will catch you up again next week.
To...
Thank you for joining us and the Broken World Chronicles. Our 3 heroes are in the world of trouble, I think. Or maybe not, I don't know. I think Feloriat is rather enjoying all of the attention. Anyway, big thank you to Michael for logging in from the other side of nowhere out in the bush. I appreciate that, Michael, I really do. I know you sort of trekked all your gear with you on holiday, so I hope you have a fantastic holiday remaining. Anyway,
Thanks, guys.
as usual, to my
playing.
players, thank you for joining in. We can briefly chat to people in the chat if there is anything going on. I'm not sure. There usually seems to be a lot going on. I see there's a comment from Terrible Choices. Guys, way too good at playing shady gay servant types. Well, there we go. Play to your strengths, I suppose. If anyone needs a butler or a grand vizier, I apparently am qualified. So there we go. If there's
Holy
any...
crap, though. Warren actually did something this time. Like,
Right.
Just a little.
No, I think it was a lot of fun. If anyone's got questions for the cast, now's the time to ask it. Otherwise, I'm going to let them go.
I've got a question. I have a question for Feloria. Like, I mean, did you just pull all of that out of your ears when we were just bluffing our way through the whole thing? I mean, just curious because I mean that was really well improvised. I mean, I almost bought that there was like this background story where you were actually in charge of everyone. And I was like, oh. Oh, is she now?
So, in real life, I play a queen, and I'm used to very much like putting on more of an accent when I realized, and then I was like, no, you can't do that because Flory doesn't have one. And then I wanted to switch into queen, and I was like, no, can't do that. I
was wondering.
Where my other job is very much, thank you, my lord, thank you for enjoying the day, how fairly, and shit like that. But no, Floria's backstory, like the world. It's like some of the characters and people she might have known for her life are here from her home, but it's like her homeland all of a sudden became like way back in the day they took over everything. So while we were still born and the relationships were still made, I guess, because Varian's here and I'm here, and if the cities are close together, I'm assuming that we were together because they mentioned my children too. So at some point our lives were kind of the same. But no, taking over was I'm totally making that up as I go with faking it.
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic job.
I was just like, shit, I can't let them know I'm an imposter because we'll all die.
That did not take the turn that I thought it was going to take. I absolutely.
Really? What did you think was going to happen?
Definitely not. Yes, I had a very different plan, but I can't share it with you, I'm afraid. I will have a share it with anyone who stays for the post-game review.
Extra
Yes, there's an extra half hour when I now talk about what I had planned. You saw that at the beginning of the show, and now how it's actually played out. Quite different. Anyway, so yes, Freddie, you had a question.
It's just real quick. Like, overall, it's just like a quick because I've never really played so much of a kid before. Does he seem somewhat dumb enough? Because like he's not really all there. He's got stuff. He's got some input to the world.
But you're also like a teenager too, right? You're not like a full 8-year-old who's just like, I want to play with slime. It's
no.
You're getting to the point that you're starting to like girls and hitting puberty and all that other shit.
Almost. It's like he was very sheltered, so that's what I'm definitely trying to push out there. Like he's just kind of like have to follow
Am I the
the
first naked
inner morals.
elf he's ever seen them?
Oh yeah, there's yeah no full.
There's gonna be so. I'm gonna have to give you the birds and the bees talk. So,
Uh,
when mommy elf and daddy elf really like each other, make a baby.
I think in the early episodes, Warren definitely came across a lot more kiddish. You know what I mean? Like really, really young kid.
Yeah.
But I think today in particular, I really got a good sense of him as a young adult, because obviously I work with young adults in my job, and you know I've got a good sense of what they're kind of like and things like that. And there was just tons of moments where you went straight into what was due, and that was really, really prevalent today in particular. So no, I got a very good sense of where his level of kiddishness came in, and it's not just sort of kiddishness, but I think the word innocence. There is that naivete and that innocence about him, which I really like today, actually.
Well, good. I really can't wait for Guy to shatter that. I'm so excited for him to just absolutely destroy it.
Oh yeah, I'm imagining like a future Warren coming in like Cable from the Marvel universe with like a metal arm and like cybernetic eye, like grizzled features, and it's actually like Flint's arm and half of like alright, listen up. I've got
the thing is,
seconds to tell you.
we've seen him with missing an eye, but we also seen him with this symbol that's here, like the lion and the dragon one, but it also had the Elven word for traitor on it. And I'm very hyper aware of this might happen at this point if I don't stop Warren from I know his ideals, and
doing the paladin
realizing
stuff.
his ideals in this world might be very dangerous, and Floria's gonna try her damnedest to try to protect him.
Dello's not gonna answer to you anymore, Warren. Look, I'm you from the future. You better buck up or not up, kid. You've got a lot to learn.
Oh,
What the heck?
Anyway, all right. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to do this post show with those that want to watch it. I do. Thank you, guys. I
Bye.
will
Bye,
see
everybody.
you all. Are we gaming
Bye,
next
guys.
week? Are we gaming next
We're being
week?
kicked
I just
out.
have to make sure we are. Next week for me, yes.
No, next week, next week.
You're back, Michael, next week. Now I'm just plotting it out because the week of the 26th and the 5th we're going to be off air for two weeks, as I am
We are?
in London. And unlike Michael, I'm afraid I don't cart all my equipment with me. I'm not that dedicated, and it's 9,000 kilometers.
Well,
So.
maybe we can like talk to Guy about hijacking his show.
Oh, you could. That's not a bad idea at all. All right. Well, thank you. We'll chat about that. If you stay for the post-game review, I'm going to start that now. Guys, thanks again. We'll see you around.
This is fun. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
We'll never see him again.
All right, there you go. That's the crazy crew. And I thank you for being with us for that. Now, if you are interested, we're going to go into the post-game review where we're going to look at what I had planned and what actually happened. And I think we can all agree it's not what I had planned. I had thought that it might happen, but I really honestly thought that they were going to pick up on the goblins a lot faster than they did. Maybe I didn't do it properly. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Share with me. Anyway, let's go back and have a look at our plan. There it is behind us. What an interesting thing. Good night to those of you that do have to leave. Luigi Salad, I want to welcome you to the stream. I see this is your first one. Thank you. You can catch repeats of the show on our YouTube channel. You can go and have a look at that. So these contain spoilers, just in case you didn't hear that already. Right. So what did the players need to learn? Well, that the hive mind is there and it seems to be thinking about something. So they have definitely connected Berg with the hive mind and the fact that the clack clack door are coming in. I also like the fact that Feloria is trying to warn these people that the clack clack door are coming, because in my opinion that means that she's invested in it. There are some opportunities for her then to prove value to the Empire. Now, where things fell apart was I had planned for the Drow to arrive and to be incredibly vicious and vindictive. And when I could see that that wasn't working, I made the drow throw Floppo down into the cave to kill him, to make them even more evil. That didn't seem to work. That moved Warren, but Valoria was on a power rush, I think. I don't know. Anyway, the decisions were made rather than attacking the guard, and I suppose they were wounded to a degree, but I'd given them that short rest so they could recover their spells and things. They decided not to. Even when they learned that there were only 4 drow infiltrating this entire complex of goblins and that there was a resistance of goblins, they still stayed and decided to follow the drow path. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. They are learning the story from a different perspective. And although I had planned for them to discover the Nazar Empire and the Savist Empire, and they really have been trying to get that information out, but they've also been trying to be quite careful about it. And I thought that it kind of worked. They kind of got some information. They picked up quite quickly that the Volstoy is important. But yes, it's interesting where they're going to be. So now we have them at this camp, and because we had planned, or we had figured, sort of designed, I suppose, the idea that there are these 2 empires and they're basically just genociding the entire planet, it allowed us to come up with some ideas. And they're at the camp. Okay, they think that Valoria is this giant leader of theirs, this great Volstoy commander. And that was absolutely fine. When Valoria brought up Varen, who comes from her character's past, it's an NPC from her character's past, he and she had this romance and there was lots of love going on, and in her history, he's dead. He died. There's a bit more to it than that, but I'm not going to reveal that just yet. I do think it could be quite a fun secret for you all to learn. So when she mentioned what's he doing, I said, oh, well, he's in the east and he's busy raising hell with the centaurs. Oh, I don't know what's going on in the east. Apparently that's where centaurs are. Then Michael asked for a map, the tricksy bugger, so I gave him a map, the map of Braxia, as we all know. The east would put him in the Sajet Empire, or in Drakentmore, or in Cathar. You could argue the Brunei Kingdom is in the east. Maybe that's where... I beg your pardon. Maybe that's where he's fighting centaurs. I'm not sure. Either way, Varen is in the east, and we've now established that this particular group, this conflict that they're having with the goblins, is in the northwest, which is where traditionally within Braxia, where goblins are based anyway. It kind of made sense to me. They want to try and summon him. They want to try and join him. They want to try and get him to come here to prove that Valoria is who she says she is, and she can try and rekindle her love with this individual. Now, as the storyteller, I am immediately faced with the challenge. If he arrives, we expect, probably the majority of us would expect for him to arrive and for him to be this complete and utter evil version of himself. This really evil... Oh, I can take these out now. This really evil character, so that she has her illusions shattered and that he isn't the man that she fell in love with. And so she realizes that this is not where she should be and that they should then move. It is a major trope that would be the case. Now, of course, when we look at shows like this, when we look at comparable shows, we've got Star Trek, who've got all of their alternative timelines, their alternative universes and things. There's Sliders, where they don't ever meet each other, but there are options like that. There is the Stargate show, which obviously this was kind of where they're mistaken for the leader and our position there. So whether if she gets Varian to even get to her side, I'm not sure I would even go with that. I would say, okay, great. They need to. He's too far away. He can't get here in time. It's going to take him months. It's just impossible. That's option number one. So then I don't have to deal with that. Option number two would be that when he arrives, he is the Varian that she fell in love with. He's kind and compassionate, and a little part of me goes, and he's doing this entire genocidal attack for Valoria. She is the one who is so motivated. He hates doing it. and he actually doesn't like her because she forced him to start this war. I think that would be an interesting twist. It's not completely original, but it does position her to then have to decide, is she going to impersonate this Volstoy in perpetuity or not? The Volstoy has now become second only to the Empress in terms of control of the Empire from the Elvish perspective anyway. I think we got enough seeds that there is animosity between the elves and the humans. The drow, I see there's some comments that have come through about the drow being dripping ooze and creep factor, which is great. Hopefully all of the elves will come across as that in the future. So, yes, it is something to contemplate. I see a comment here from Luigi Salad says that might be quite interesting, is if Varen isn't a totally different character, but he's similar, but there is one very telling difference that totally shatters Felora's perception. Yeah, you know, we could go the route that perhaps he enjoys torturing centaurs, or he enjoys eating centaurs. I'm not entirely sure. Debbie Buckland from New Zealand, welcome. I had well, if you missed the full stream, we're actually winding down now, but if you missed the full stream, it is available on YouTube, on the same channel that you are currently watching this show on. Game Master's Vault. Does Broken Worlds take place in Braxia? Yes, it does. Well, in various iterations of Braxia. So in this particular iteration, the Nazar Empire, the human empire, has now taken over about 40% of the entire globe, and the Savist Empire, which is the Elvish Empire, spread out from what we all know as the Empire of Athene Vasul, and has now taken over the majority, 45% of the rest of the world. So there's this interesting conflict that's going on. At the moment, the two empires are allied with one another, but once they have completely eradicated all of the other species, what then happens? Will they turn on one another or not? We don't really know. I don't know if we're going to be long enough in this world for us to find out. I think our characters, by virtue of the fact that they have ingratiated themselves so much into this space, this pretense of being Floriat, that there is very little hope of them getting out of it without using the stones, which again I don't have a problem with. They are still linked to Berg Montgomery, whom I think is definitely going to play a part in terms of bringing them back on track. Now, how am I going to bring them back on track to this plan behind me that you can see here, where we're supposed to place explosives on the gateways, and then there's the flooded canyon and the like? Well, from what I can see, I've got a few options open. If you can see any others, I'd be grateful for the suggestions. But immediately what springs to mind is that we don't ever go to that plan. The Volstoy, in all her grandeur, gets a summons from the Empress, who demands to know why the hell she's in the northwest and not in the south, where she's supposed to be, on a secret mission trying to remove the very last of the dwarvish resistance. So the thinking is that maybe we just put our characters onto the Arcanon, and they are the ones that watch the first gate get destroyed, and will be aware that there is a second saboteur attempt on the other side of the canyon. So maybe they're going to try and stop that. So it's literally, it is a reversal of the plan. That, I think, is the easiest to go along with. It does mean, though, that there's going to be lots more discussion-y NPC interaction where these guys try and figure out what's going on. And although I don't mind that, I don't necessarily care. It doesn't really bother me. I would rather have it that there was a bit more action involved, but I can't really introduce that. An alternative would be that I get the goblins to now counterattack the camp. So the goblins now launch a massive invasion against this elvish camp, a reprisal, if you like. And what we discover is that Berg intentionally meant to get captured and has arrived with a explosive that he has hidden about himself, or perhaps the captain has hidden about themselves. Once they saw Feloria arrive in the middle of the field, they recognized her as the Volstoy, and so put their plan into action. So the goblins that did die were sacrificing themselves for the bigger plan, which is the destruction of the camp. They will take Floriat and Warren and Flint captive again, if they are allowed to, but I need to make sure that Warren and Flint and Floria are very much aware that the elves are the bad guys and that the goblins are the good guys. So a suggestion that I see came through here on YouTube from Grey Kynos was the idea of holding a festival or a ritual with very artistic executions of goblins. Yes, I don't have to look too far to go, well, it could be a Roman-style arena where goblins are herded into this arena and wild animals are released just to rip them apart. That's a pretty savage way of doing things. At the moment, I've hinted that there are those 3 holes being dug. That was purposeful on my behalf to try and set a little bit of unease amongst the players. There's 3 holes, there's 3 of them. Is something up? Have they detected something? What's actually going to happen is that Berg, the 2 goblins, are going to get strung up onto those posts and left there until sunrise because, well, Feloria ordered that they be brought to her and that she not be interrupted. So that's really what they're going to be doing, which I think will show just how evil they are, but we can push it even further. Perhaps they're then brought a tray of meat and it's fresh goblin stuffed with child of goblin, or it's a pregnant, I don't know, I mean that's disgusting, but again, just drawing on the idea of horrific ways of presenting food. The Romans like to stuff all sorts of things inside all sorts of things inside all sorts of things. It was a very bizarre kind of choice that they used to do. So if I can do that and just make sure that they really hate the elves, that will get rid of the Varian problem quite quickly, and it also means that I can then go back on track with the idea of sabotaging the Arcanon and the original plan. Remember though, I don't have to panic too much about what's going on here, as long as I can get them the information that Berg knows about the stones. And, well, once he learns about the stones, he will start to use them himself, but also that there is this hive mind, and she or he or it, whatever it is, I've decided the hive mind is a non-sexed androgynous thing, is present across the dimensions and is hunting for something very specific. What are they hunting for? Well, that I'll leave up to the imagination for now. Yes, Debbie Buckland says we can have goblin heads on trophy boards. We can have goblin skull. Wine cup, says William Mash Taylor Tallier. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then Grizzless, of course, it's egg inside chicken, inside goose, inside goat, inside cow, inside camel. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Oh, excuse me. As to all of the options that we have to try and get these guys to really hate these things. Gray, I might actually use that idea. Gray on YouTube says beautiful shearish clothing made from goblin skins. Maybe not goblin skins, because we see the goblins here, they're a very real threat. What if it was skins made from, let's say, tieflings? So it's got this lovely red color to it. And there is really no other way to get such a brilliant red that just lasts for ages and protects against flame and fire just as well as these do. So we skin them. Of course, the younger they are, the more intense the color. Whereas they get older, they get grayer. So you wanted young. All sorts of evilness can pour out of us. And I think that's something that I really enjoy when it comes to role-playing, is that you really can pour out your evil inside of you, I suppose, if you really want to. I can think of nothing worse personally than trying to do that in real life, so thank goodness I get to be a role player. I see some other suggestions coming through. Eric says we could invite them to the clearing of the Goblin Warren, have them sort of see the elves gas or napalm or fire burn them out. Wow, absolutely. Certainly also stuff that's been done before in human history. Oh, we can't get into the cave system? Well, just gas the cave system. I think that's really really cool. Flint could find goblin bone flutes. Ooh, I do like that idea. Breeding pens for tieflings so we can get their hide. Yes, lovely idea. Of course, we have the Graith, which are the dog-like creatures. In one version of Braxia, they've lost all of their hair and all these weird sort of mutant type things. Nothing saying that the Graith here aren't used as carpets and the like. So orcs we've been established as being turned into slaves. If they engage with any of the orcs, they'll find that the orcs have also been lobotomized to prevent them from going into rage and becoming dangerous. So there's lots of options that we have to prove just how dark and evil this space is. We don't have to put too much thought into it because, like I said, there's not going to be a huge amount of time spent in this space, potentially. They might decide to bed down and go from here. There was an interesting question raised by Michael, and I think it's very valid. I'm just not entirely sure if I need to answer it or not, or whether they need to answer it. The players don't necessarily know where they should be going or what they should be doing. And I think that that's the right sensation for them at the moment, because they are these individuals who took a leap through a hole and are now literally tumbling through the multiple dimensions as they try and find something. We don't know what it is that they're looking for yet, and I don't think they know either. So when they said to me, okay, well, what should they try to be doing? It's like, well, do what you would be doing if you were in this strange space. Would you be trying to get home? Would you try and find a lost loved one, as Feloria has done? So I didn't necessarily intend for this to become a Feloria-focused space of stories, but that's what I love about the way that by having a fairly flexible structure works, is that now this can become a Feloria episode. And if they don't do something radical when they discover the evilness of this empire, then we can explore the Varan link and go from there. So lots of options for us to play with and to have a look at. Anyway, I thank you all for tuning in and for seeing this. Next week we will obviously develop the hatred, and hopefully develop the hatred and see where we go. Either it's going to be Berg's bomb, or it will be a journey on the Arcanon. Either way, it should be fun. I see some people logging in, some very good names. Eric Jaeger. I'm looking forward to June and July, I must admit. And Game Masters Vault is there as well. Goblin Lives Matter. Yes, they do, unless you're Elvish from the Southeast Empire, in which case then they definitely don't. Anyway, from me, I wish to thank you all for tuning in, for watching, and for your wonderful comments and suggestions. They are all taken in and listened to and looked at and contemplated and added to the mix so that we have a much more entertaining game. Until next time, from me in chilly Japan, I just want to wish you all the very happiest of gaming, and we'll see you again next week.